Alright, you and I are about to watch a guy walk into a dungeon alone to fight goblins with a blindfold on, just to prove he can. The monsters thought he was a total lunatic, so they immediately charged. But to their absolute horror, he completely wrecked them with his eyes shut. By the time Shin finished, hundreds of goblin corpses littered the ground. He slowly pulled off his blindfold, muttered that it was way too easy, and noted his quest was almost done. Yet just days ago, when Shin first showed up with a longsword, the veteran adventurers openly looked down on him. Their leader assumed he was just some clueless rookie who watched a couple of videos and thought he was ready for war. One teammate straight up warned him he would get zero special treatment and had to pull his own weight. Absolutely nobody expected this kid to survive, but what happened next defied all logic. Just a few hours later, the veteran squad completely choked against the boss and ran for their lives, while Shin casually strolled into the chamber with a smirk on his face. He effortlessly dodged every strike, mocking the pros who claimed he would only get in the way. He soloed the boss and cleared the entire room. When he finally walked out, he was holding the rarest loot in the dungeon. Now, those who mocked him either respect him or are utterly terrified of his power. But what absolutely nobody knew was the tragic, dark truth behind his insane strength. When Shin was just a kid, cursed portals first split open and unleashed monsters onto the earth. Back then, he watched his master scream at him to run and save himself, right before she suffered a brutal, horrifying end before his eyes. But he could not just run away. He stood frozen, realizing there was absolutely no way humanity could survive this nightmare. It seemed pointless to even fight back. But then, a sudden flash of light instantly sliced through every single beast. That hero was so mind-blowingly powerful that something shifted deep inside Shin. He thought that if he grew that strong, he could make his master proud. But here is a brutal reality check. More than 30 years slipped by. He trained hard, became a hunter, but the monsters just kept coming. Worst of all, that legendary hero who once saved him died right in his arms. It hurts realizing your idols can bleed too. With a shattered heart, Shin dragged himself through another 20 years of war. By age 55, he stood completely alone on a bloody battlefield. He had to ask himself why he was still grinding so hard at nearly 60. 3 decades ago, Shin Sung-hyun took up the sword, with his biggest achievement merely cracking the top 100 in the country. Even so, it was not much. He was basically just another face in the crowd. But after clearing this dungeon, he secures a rare skill book. Remembering how he used to consume magical items, he wonders if he can pull it off again. Suddenly, a strange presence manifests. The constellation named Exemplary Student appears, warmly congratulating our hero on a perfect finishing strike. This is the actual projection of his patron deity. In this world, you must sign a contract with a constellation to become an adventurer, and he was lucky to secure one. Yet, due to the absolutely crazy demands his sponsor set, he has not actually gained a single perk from their deal. His constellation urges him to consume the book. He does not physically eat the paper, but absorbs its essence, which is the only unique talent he ever actually awakened. Before this, Shin Sung-hyun was completely unable to use magical artifacts. In pure desperation, he tried eating them to trigger a reaction, but nothing happened. It was a total waste of time. For 30 years, he could not utilize any dungeon rewards. But once he learned to align his mana with specific items, he could finally absorb their power. He dubbed this unique skill Artifact Devouring. Since he mastered it way too late, his peers had already surpassed him, leaving him far behind the pack. Examining the book, he finds absolutely no guide on how to activate it. His constellation steps in, taking the book to see if it can decipher the trick. Now, watch closely here. The constellation admits its knowledge is limited, apologizing for not being more useful, but suggests he take his time and try tuning his mana once more. Annoyed, Shin Sung-hyun mutters that time is a luxury he lacks, pointing out he is old enough to be the father of these young rookies. He quickly softens, telling his patron it did nothing wrong, and apologizes for venting his lifelong frustrations. Honestly, Shin Sang-hyun could never forget the hero who rescued him all those years ago. He spent his entire life chasing that shadow, but the endless struggle only left him utterly burned out. If he were only a little younger, maybe things would be different. But he is old, ready to retire, and tells his constellation to find another contract. Right as he says this, however, Shin Sang-hyun is completely caught off guard. His patron unleashes a blinding power onto him, serving as a final farewell to his 55-year-old existence. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a reporter interviewing a woman about dungeons. The interviewee is Han, the famous CEO of the Hyunjung Corporation. She explains that dungeons are mere stepping stones, but active portals are far worse, dragging people into entirely different, dangerous dimensions. Our hero quietly watches this broadcast play out on his old television. I know what you are thinking. Did he actually travel back in time? Absolutely. He remembers watching this exact broadcast 30 years ago. It has been 4 days, and he knows he is back in the past. After blacking out, he woke up to find himself lying in the dusty bedroom of his old apartment from 30 years ago. Even wilder, his body is 30 years younger, while his future memories remain completely intact. Shin Sang-hyun does not know the exact mechanics, but he is certain his constellation pulled the strings. Despite the confusion, he figures his best move is to get to work. Right now, he only carries his starter bronze dagger, but he possesses crucial knowledge he did not have in his previous life. That cheap dagger actually conceals a hidden skill, meaning its low rank does not matter at all. Before starting, our hero needs to visit a special zone. Shin Sang-hyun enters his mental subconscious space, as that is the unique realm where he can safely consume an artifact. He gets anxious every single time. Thankfully, the artifact manifests in the form of delicious-looking food. He lets out a massive sigh of relief that it is not some hideous, slimy bug. If devouring was always this easy, he would level up in no time. Chowing down on the chicken, he absorbs the dagger's power, unlocking a secret skill called Demon Strike. Once the devouring process completes, the physical dagger vanishes forever, completely drained of its magical essence. Regardless, our guy got what he came for and is ready to roll. Meanwhile, downtown, an expedition group prepares to enter a dungeon as leader Yoon Dae-kyung is approached. The transport manager reports that a recruit named Shin Sung-hyun abandoned their post, leaving them short-handed. But Yoon Dae-kyung smiles, explaining the kid actually left to join his elite squad. Baffled, the manager asks how a raw, newly awakened rookie got assigned to a dangerous raid alongside experienced veterans. He warns that the uncertified rookie never finished the academy, making him a major hazard. Yoon Dae-kyung confidently brushed it off, claiming he has everything under control. Trust me, you and I are about to witness the ultimate comeback. All right, you and I are watching the transport manager back down in fear. Immediately after, a guild member questions their own leader's sketchy choices. The veteran leader, Yoon Dae-kyung, claims he only brought the rookie because he volunteered. If someone has to die in there, he'd rather it be the new kid than his actual crew. Plus, if the kid dies, they won't have to deal with any extra hassle. Our main character finally arrives, declaring he's officially leaving his delivery job behind to become a real dungeon adventurer. Unsurprisingly, his old co-workers are absolutely furious about it. He clearly notices their dirty looks but wishes they'd at least try to hide it. Either way, the team leader steps up, warmly welcoming him to the squad. But the leader spots the massive sword on the kid's back and asks if he's serious. Our main character confidently nods, claiming he watched online tutorials and totally knows what he's doing. The leader warns him those swords are incredibly tough to wield, but there's no changing the kid's mind. Giving up, he praises the rookie's brave spirit and hopes he performs well. Now that their final member is finally here, the gate is open and the raid officially begins. The leader orders everyone to stick together at the entrance once they cross over. But as they wait, he silently mocks the kid, thinking he's totally out of his league. Seriously, who just watches a couple of online sword videos, buys a cheap weapon, and thinks they can survive a real dungeon? He figures this rookie is either completely insane or just incredibly arrogant to call himself an adventurer. So, his genius plan? Use the newbies as bait. Let them run in first, then have the veterans sweep up the monsters. But pay close attention right here, because things don't go according to their plan at all. Instead of crying for help, our main character effortlessly slays several monsters solo, leaving the leader completely stunned. Just like in your favorite classic fantasy novels, this world is crawling with savage orcs, and they act exactly like the legends say. Sure, they aren't the strongest beasts around. They might be dumber than other monsters, but they're incredibly aggressive. Cocky adventurers always think slaying them is easy because they assume they are smarter, but that's a fatal mistake. Dumb or not, these brutes are massive, wildly powerful compared to rookies, and they love turning arrogant newcomers into absolute ground meat. The group pushes deeper into the dark dungeon. Along the way, a veteran sternly warns our main character that being a rookie won't get him any special treatment, so he better carry his own weight. Shin Sang-hyun casually shrugs it off. Still, the veteran keeps pushing, warning him to give it his all or get left behind. But then, our hero casually asks if there's one already coming. Before the confused veteran can even process the question, a massive orc blindsides them out of nowhere. Our main character doesn't even flinch, having already predicted the ambush. The panicked veteran blocks the strike with his shield, screaming at Shin Sung-hyun to stop watching and actually do something. Yet in the very next breath, he proudly barks at him to stay back, claiming he doesn't need help and won't have a dead rookie on his conscience. That big mouth almost cost him his life, but the leader, Yoon Dae-kyung, leaps in at the absolute last second to bash the monster back. He commands everyone to stay calm and fall into defensive formation immediately, ordering the rest of the crew to cover his back. The beast charges, but the leader shields the blow and quickly counters. His teammates cheer, but the clever orc was only faking. It uses that very moment to launch a surprise strike, nearly tearing right through the leader's defenses. Observing from the sidelines, our main character notes that Yoon Dae-kyung holds the highest level in their entire raid team. Even with his high level, he can't put the beast down in a single blow. The leader lands multiple strikes, but they barely leave a scratch. He's forced to beat the monster repeatedly before it finally collapses. Once the dust settles, the leader checks for injuries and the team briefly celebrates. But their joy is cut short when a massive horde of orcs surrounds them, sending everyone into a total panic. You and I both know the smart move here is to run, and the leader agrees. But then our main character calmly asks if he can take them all. No one can comprehend why a low-level rookie would commit suicide like this. The leader screams at him to back down, warning him how strong they are. But our hero completely ignores him and leaps into battle. Shin Sung-ha-yoon charges straight ahead, obliterating an orc with a single, brutal slash. The squad freezes in shock. Smiling, he asks if they are really this surprised to see a level 1 do that. Even the bloodthirsty monsters are completely dumbfounded before bursting into a furious, vengeful rage. For our hero, this is pure heaven. He's exactly where he wants to be, dancing between deadly attacks with mind-blowing speed while dealing out massive damage. Seeing him dominate the battlefield, the veterans seriously question if this kid is actually a rookie. After sweeping the field, our hero finally stands face-to-face with the towering pack leader. The furious boss attacks relentlessly, but Shin Sang-yoon easily slips past every blow to counter with deadly precision. Watching from afar, the leader is convinced the kid's luck is about to run out. But our main character thinks the leader is just overreacting. Suddenly, the massive beast activates its ultimate skill, Demon Bash, boosting its physical power to insane levels. But instead of running, our hero just smiles, saying this is exactly what he wanted. The beast charges in a blind rage, but our hero strikes first, cutting it down instantly. Witnessing this epic boss fall so easily, the leader can only wonder how strong this kid actually is. There's no way he's just a newly awakened adventurer. Aside from godlike physical strength, his swordsmanship is flawless. He didn't just kill the boss, he pierced clean through its heavy armor. His teammates are left questioning his entire identity, while our hero calmly reviews the juicy stat bonuses from his victory. But the stats themselves don't interest him. He has a much bigger plan. Shin Sang-yoon needs to allocate his level up points, but unlike his past life, he's dumping absolutely everything into his luck attribute. The leader marches over, demanding to know how a newly awakened rookie can possess such insane power. Since he can't reveal his regression secrets, our hero just says he woke up this way. The veteran gets frustrated, calling total nonsense on that excuse. He accuses the rookie of hiding a powerful, high-tier magic weapon to cheat his way through. Smiling, our main character hands the blade over for inspection. The leader examines it closely, only to find a completely standard sword with absolutely zero special attributes. He realizes that in all his active years, he has never seen a fresh rookie fight like a level 50 veteran. But before he can investigate further, a teammate spots something unusual. They've discovered a hidden room. The leader warns that while the rookie handled the trash mobs, the real boss is next, and he insists on keeping the kids safe from that nightmare. Amused, our hero knows they have no clue who they're dealing with. He grabs the leader's attention, requesting to solo the upcoming boss on one condition. He gets to keep the loot drop for himself. You and I are about to see the power of that legendary Scarlet Stone. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where a legendary drop is up for grabs. Defeating a demon orc might drop the ultra-rare Scarlet Stone, but the rates are painfully low. In our hero's past life, his squad completely choked, letting another team swoop in and steal the prize. Those guys bragged constantly because that artifact was worth a massive fortune, but beyond the insane payout, it held the legendary delay skill, the one crucial power our main character absolutely had to get his hands on, which is exactly why he wanted that stone. Back in the present, right after crushing the monsters, Shin Sang-yoon reminds everyone that this raid is running on a contribution-based loot system. Meaning, since he carried the entire team and soloed every monster, all the drops belong to him. The leader, Yoon Dae-kyung, immediately figures out the delay skill is the target. Still, a complete rookie talking this big was never going to fly with the rest of the veteran party. The party grumbles that the kid is getting way too cocky just because he cleared a few basic orcs. But then, to everyone's absolute shock, the team leader actually agrees to the rookie's demands. There is a catch though. If the squad fails to clear the dungeon boss, the kid has to fight it completely solo. Only then does he get the loot. For our hero, this is the perfect setup because he wanted a solo run anyway. The leader tells him to go ahead, secretly convinced this arrogant brat is going to get himself killed in the field sooner rather than later. He figures a brutal reality check is exactly what the rookie needs. Out here, real combat experience is everything arrogance gets you buried. Moments later, they unlock the boss chamber and spot the target. The massive beast is chained in the center, and the scarlet stone is sparkling right beside it. The leader orders everyone to draw their weapons. The monster looks terrifying, but according to the official guides, a coordinated team should be able to clear this easily. Of course, trying to solo it would be suicide. The squad charges in to attack, but within minutes, they get absolutely wrecked. The leader is left in shock, unable to comprehend their defeat. Our main character watches, amused. The leader rushed in with so much confidence he almost made the fight look winnable. But he remembers acting just as brainlessly in his past life, and he is not repeating that mistake. Nearby, a panicked teammate begs the leader to retreat before they all get wiped out. Now watch closely, because this is where everything flips. The leader orders a full retreat, and our hero knows it is finally his turn to step up. The leader watches in disbelief as the kid actually steps forward. But with no time to lose, the squad retreats. The leader warns him that he is on his own, and they won't take responsibility if he dies. But our hero just tells him not to sweat it, he's got this. The beast roars and charges first. Facing this thing in a fair, head-on clash would be suicide. But luckily, our main character has a hidden trump card. Years of future combat experience give him the edge. When he casually blocks the boss's strike, the monster freezes in shock, and the spectating adventurers completely lose their minds. For now, he focuses on evasion, sticking strictly to his game plan. That Scarlet Stone is the ultimate prize, because its delay skill is the missing piece to his setup. His unique artifact devouring skill lets him fuse different powers, and combining them will create something absolutely broken. He throws out a brutal taunt, sending the blind orc into a rage. Since the beast navigates purely by sound, our hero is ready to exploit that weakness. Darting around like a ghost, he lands a devastating strike that forces the orc to drop its massive axe. Just like that, his skill locks the boss in a brief stun. Let's pause for a second. The leader is watching this in sheer disbelief. Can a mere rookie really lock down a boss like that? Sure, orcs are strong, but they are incredibly predictable. However, a split-second distraction almost costs our hero dearly as the beast lands a heavy blow, barely missing a direct hit. He forgot one critical detail: orcs possess insane self-regeneration. Pulling off another stun is going to be brutal, which is exactly why he needs that delay skill right now. With no other choice, he charges straight ahead, finally unleashing his full power without holding a single thing back. Meanwhile, a panicked teammate tries to convince the leader to abandon the kid as bait. He is convinced the rookie is doomed and wants to flee before they all get dragged down with him. But the leader notices something chilling even against an overwhelming enemy. Our hero is fighting with a confident smirk. Is this guy really just a rookie? Only our hero knows the secret. When your raw stats are lacking, the key is focusing all your strength into one single, lethal point. This time, he will even redirect the enemy's own kinetic force against it. Moving like lightning, he plunges his weapon straight into the beast's vital point. With that devastating strike, the orc falls, and he claims all the solo victory rewards. Scoring 2 powerful new titles, he realizes going solo pays off big time. The leader slowly approaches, his face completely pale with shock. Seeing this, our main character knows he needs a quick cover story to avoid suspicion. He instantly starts acting exhausted, gasping that if the squad hadn't softened the boss up first, he never would have stood a chance at winning. While one gullible teammate buys the act, the leader is highly suspicious, sensing the kid is hiding his true power. Our hero just hopes they swallow the lie. Right on cue, the legendary Scarlet Stone drops from the monster. True to his word, the leader accepts they have no right to claim the precious loot. With the mid-boss finally down, he orders the squad to prepare for the final boss. The expedition party packs up and moves deeper into the dungeon. Left alone with his prize, our hero smiles. He finally got the drop. Later, back at his unconscious farm, the acquired artifact transforms into a hot bowl of pork stew. Staring at the mouth-watering dish, he digs in without hesitation. As he finishes eating and absorbs the artifact's essence, he officially unlocks the delay skill. He feels a rush of excitement since he has waited so long for this power. Even better, he discovers this new delay skill can be synergized with Demon Bash, boosting both. This hidden synergy gives him a massive, game-breaking advantage. He had heard rumors about this insane combination in his past life, but since no one had ever successfully executed it, he never expected it to actually work. But right as he makes this massive breakthrough, the guild leader interrupts and pulls our main character aside for a private chat. He warns him that the next challenge is the ultimate final boss, the Orc Berserker. Surprisingly, the leader does not bench him this time around. The leader admits that ignoring a powerhouse like him would make him a terrible boss. He promises to count on our hero moving forward, keeping their original deal intact. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this unfolds as a jealous teammate plots against him, but our hero is already one step ahead. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a sketchy raid where the leader promises drinks later just to keep his nervous team from falling apart. They finally reach the boss room, but the sheer, overwhelming aura of the Orc Berserker leaves the party shaking. As the leader, Yoon Dae-kyung steps up first to take the hit, but our main character steps right past him, telling everyone to just back him up. Shin Sang-hyun knows this boss has weaker resistances than his last target, so keeping it stunned should be a piece of cake. Still, he is surprised by his own sudden confidence. In his past life, he was always terrified as a kid, and when he grew older, his only goal was to survive by any means necessary. He realizes things have to be different this time. If he does not change his mindset, he's going to end up exactly like before. It is not going to be easy, but he has to pull off legendary feats to prove his worth and show the world what he is truly capable of. And his plan works perfectly, leaving the leader completely stunned. Shin Sang-hyun pulls off an epic combo to stun the beast, giving the leader the perfect chance to order an all-out attack. Completely paralyzed, the boss gets absolutely shredded by the party's onslaught. It goes down so incredibly fast that some members think the raid was way too easy. A few players realize Shin Sang-hyun carried the entire fight, and they immediately think about recruiting him as an official guild member. He finds it hilarious how fast their attitudes changed, considering how horribly they treated him at first. Either way, he rejects them because he wants to grow stronger on his own terms. He is already collecting legendary titles he could only dream of in his past life, though he still feels like a nobody compared to the phantom swordsman Kyung-soo. After all, Kyung-soo is the ultimate title collector, known as the perfect swordsman and the undisputed strongest adventurer in all of Korea. In just 2 years, this monster hit level 500. Now pay attention here, because our main character is determined to reach that exact same peak in this new life, and honestly, he might actually pull it off. Moments later, Yoon Dae-kyung walks over and hands him a rare drop. He admits the guy carried the team on his back, so he earned this reward. It is not super expensive, but it is a small token of his gratitude. Shin Sang-hyun knows the leader is only being nice because they will never meet again. He hates how cold this world is, but he knows he cannot afford to get attached to anyone. Watching from the shadows, one greedy teammate gets incredibly jealous of his loot. Thinking he can get away with something, the guy quickly pulls out his phone. Back home, our hero celebrates his massive payout. He walked away with 6 million won, which is way more than any basic luggage carrier could ever dream of making. Best of all, he got his hands on the Berserker ring, a boss drop that gives a massive boost to the wearer's stamina. Even though it is a low-level artifact, getting it for free is a major win. Regular players usually run out of mana before they can even swing their swords, but this ring changes everything. But he is no ordinary player. Even though his powers awakened after he turned 50, his past life was filled with intense study, and he knows exactly how to handle gear like this. He learned that while mana-dependent items have a penalty at first, they eventually become completely free to use. He is not worried about penalties, because his main focus is unlocking more skills. Meanwhile, at a shady VIP club in Gangnam, that jealous blonde is begging for backup to get his revenge, but his friend tells him to chill out, saying he is way too worked up. He asks why on earth he should get involved in some petty personal grudge. The salty blonde claims our boy must be loaded to get this strong, this fast. But let's be real, nobody in this room is buying his pathetic whining. Fed up, one of the gang members slices the blonde's ear, making it crystal clear they are not his personal hitmen. The enforcer warns him that his arrogance made him think he had power over them, and this pain is his lesson. Still, the gangster wants to know where this Shin Sang-hyun is hiding. Meanwhile, our hero is taking a well-deserved break after an intense training session. During his break, he remembers that when the Berserker ring transformed into food, it tasted exactly like cucumber soup, which he absolutely detests. Still, the sacrifice was worth it. Now he can lighten his sword, making his attacks insanely fast. For now, he decides to stick with the heavy longsword to build up his muscle memory. Next, he plots his next move. Looking at his status screen, he realizes he needs to start attracting the attention of powerful constellations, but very carefully. Ideally, he wants a patron god that matches his insanely high luck stat. Right now, his powers are still too low to turn heads, so he has to train like an absolute demon. After a grueling grind, he heads straight for a portal. Training for 3 days straight without sleep and driving for hours was a bit extreme, but it paid off. He has fully mastered the two-handed longsword style, and it is time to test it out. If he had stayed in the capital, finding an open solo dungeon would have taken forever, so he traveled out to this remote spot instead. But he is not alone. He already noticed a suspicious car tailing him up the mountain. He has no idea what they want, but he figures he can settle whatever it is once they're inside. The moment he steps into the portal, the gang follows him in. Once inside, he points out that this is strictly a solo adventurer dungeon, meaning they did not just wander in here by mistake. Since he got here first, he has zero intention of leaving. The gang leader laughs, realizing this guy is not the brainless fool they were told about. Shin Sang-yoon quickly realizes these guys are a trained hit squad sent just for him. Scanning their lineup, he notices they have no healers or mages. It is just swordsmen and archers, a classic player hunting squad, and he is their prime target. The thugs boast that they are going to bury him right here. Nobody will ever find him. But our hero remembers these illegal PK guilds were completely wiped out in his past life. Archers are always the biggest threat in squads like this. Fortunately, he is not just standing around waiting to get shot. He calmly warns them that in a few minutes, there will be 4 dead bodies on the ground, asking how they plan to explain that to the outside world. One thug snaps, but the leader tells him to keep it clean. The big brawler has zero interest in talking. Our hero mocks him, telling him he should listen to his boss, which only makes the brute charge in blind rage. Shin Sang-yoon knows that the only law that matters inside a dungeon is the survival of the fittest. Monsters have always hunted him, and humans trying to steal loot are no different. Honestly, humans are far more dangerous than monsters, because inside these lawless zones, the only rule is kill or be killed. That was the most valuable lesson from his past life, and it kept him breathing. He drops the first guy instantly, asking who is next. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens. Alright, you and I are jumping into the action as the enemies charge, their leader telling the archer to cover him. The archer stands completely frozen. He knew his big buddy was a brute, but how did a newly awakened rookie take him down so fast? It just does not make sense to him. Realizing they are facing an absolute monster, he lets his arrows fly, but Shin Sang-yoon swats them away like flies. Shook by how useless his attack was, the archer loses focus and gets blasted instantly. The leader notices Shin Sang-yoon chucked his massive sword, like a spear without sweating, which means the guy is completely weaponless now. This is his chance. He rushes in with his last ally, confident they can take down the defenseless warrior before he retrieves his weapon. Both sides race for the blade, but Shin Sang-yoon slips past their strikes at the very last second. Now, he has got his weapon back in hand, and the bad guys are cornered up close. Before long, the battle is over. He wanted to avoid a messy fight, but at least his core stats got a nice boost. Opening his status screen, he sees he hit level 50. Plus, he snatched a sweet recovery ring from that reckless idiot who rushed him. He realizes relying solely on his stun skills is a trap. He has got to stay sharp from here on out. Meanwhile, deep in the dark cavern, a pack of goblins is busy mining away. Suddenly, Shin Sang-hyun strolls in. He is wearing a tight blindfold, aiming for the Lucky Day title, which requires beating 500 beasts completely blind. The monsters are totally confused, staring back at this blindfolded weirdo. Meanwhile, our hero is just waiting patiently for them to make their move. He can feel their presence but cannot see a thing. This means he must rely entirely on sound and tread lightly. He locks in, sharpening his hearing to catch every single movement around him. Now watch closely with me, because like a total superhero, he masters it instantly. The second a goblin strikes, he counters, tearing through the rest with an incredible feeling of power. A sudden ranged attack flies his way, but he literally snatches the speeding arrow right out of the air, leaving the archer completely frozen in disbelief. This whole stunt was incredibly risky, but it sparked an old memory. And just like that, his inner perception finally awakens. Zero fear. He dares them all to rush him together. The beasts swarm forward, but he systematically slaughters them one after the other. He shows absolutely no mercy, driving the surviving monsters into deep despair before finishing them off. Having finally earned his legendary title, he removes the blindfold, though a new wave of threats is already approaching. More goblins step into the clearing, only to find a total bloodbath. Shin Sang-hyun spots them immediately, thinking that squeezing out some extra experience points is a great idea. With the area clear, he is thrilled with his boosted luck stat. Walking away, he calculates the insane amount of cash he will make off all this loot. But out of nowhere, the air grows heavy and pitch black. Shin Sang-hyun smiles, sensing that his ultimate goal is finally within arm's reach. 3 massive cosmic entities descend upon him, forcing a sudden choice. Staring at these literal gods, he realized things are moving way faster than he ever planned. Okay, I know what you're thinking. He's got this. right? Well, when the goddess steps forward, his confidence wavers, completely lost since nothing like this happened in his past life. To his shock, the goddess of luck confesses her fascination, admitting she has never witnessed a swordsman this intriguing in all her days. He humbly plays along, but inside, he is letting out a massive sigh of relief that all three deities actually want to sign a contract. He knows the janitor of the fallen dimension loves bloodthirsty killers, so slaughtering that goblin army definitely caught its eye. But the pilgrim of the great expanse only seeks out saintly figures, leaving him completely baffled as to why it is even here. He figures the saintly pilgrim only followed the goddess of luck, who is highly popular among other stellar beings. Regardless, she offers an incredibly sweet deal, saying she has no demands and will remain open to a contract, even if he chooses someone else. This is a massive, unfair advantage. In his entire previous life, he only knew of one legendary figure who had ever pulled off a multi-contract deal, the Miracle Archer. Hashimoto Yuki was a god-tier sniper who never missed and never ran out of ammunition, all because two divine patrons made the impossible possible for him. Feeling overwhelmed by three divine options, Shin Sung-hyan asks for time to think, but the impatient cosmic entities demand his final decision right this second. While the goddess of luck is amazing, signing with her means burning his bridges, as no other god will ever partner with him again. He recalls that after 10 long years of struggle in his past life, only a single deity ever chose him, the late exemplary student, who was incredibly beautiful. Despite how miserable his journey was back then, he genuinely believed a bright future lay ahead with his patron. But absolutely nothing happened until he turned 55, never once tasting real power. He only got to witness that level of strength after being reborn. Honestly, he is deeply grateful for this second chance at greatness. But he must tread carefully, since messing up this time means no more do-overs. He weighs his options, choosing between raw destruction, holy magic, massive power boosts, or gambling everything on sheer luck. Making his move, Shin Sang-yoon signs the contract with the goddess of luck, who locks them in for a solid 30 years. She welcomes him aboard, noting that 15 other benevolent deities are already cheering for him, even if things go south early on. However, she warns him that 3 hostile gods are actively plotting to destroy him. Shin Sang-yoon simply smiles, wishing them both the best of luck, and she praises him for making a wise choice. She drops some starter perks on him, leaving him completely speechless at how broken these abilities are. She chuckles, calling it a well-deserved reward for all his hard work. When she asks about his rejected suitors, he formally turns them down. The peaceful pilgrim of the great expanse simply nods, willing to wait for their next encounter. But the janitor of the fallen dimension is furious, swearing to hunt him down and erase him for this blatant disrespect. With the goddess of luck on his side, he is not worried at all, knowing more allies will come later. Ready for a real challenge, he struts straight into the dungeon boss room to face it head-on. The goddess watches closely as he unleashes his new, broken abilities, leaving the desperate dungeon boss struggling to defend itself. The greedy goblin lord has insane boss-level stats. Enraged by the slaughter of his minions, he is absolutely desperate for bloody revenge against our hero. It is not as lethal as his stun, but trust me, you and I know that draining a boss's motivation is a total game winner. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character pull off the ultimate bait and switch. The enemy strikes with everything it has, but misses entirely. Shin Sang-yoon effortlessly dodges, already planning exactly how he will steal this giant boss's overpowered ability. He decides it is time to test his newly acquired luck in an actual battle, and this massive boss is the perfect punching bag. Moving in fast, he connects with a devastating and clean strike right on target. The monster lord cannot even react to the speed. Shin Sang-yoon is in total control now, combining his unique skills to trap the boss exactly where he wants it. He rains down a barrage of brutal strikes in just a few seconds, declaring that absolute defeat is inevitable. After taking an absurd amount of punishment, the giant enemy finally crashes down, totally defeated. Our hero lets out a massive sigh of relief, thrilled about the hard-won victory and the massive attribute boost. It dragged on way longer than he wanted, but he is just glad it is over. After all, after 3 days of sleepless training, he had to fight his street gang, over 500 angry goblins, and then this boss. Even the goddess admits his luck is absolutely insane for surviving all that while still standing. She points out that luck is basically a cheat skill, and she is thrilled to assist such a blessed adventurer. Checking his stats, he notices his luck is now over 100 points, meaning he hit a major bonus threshold. This means all of his other abilities are heavily buffed by luck, giving him a massive success rate across the board. Even better, high luck boosts item drop rates. Thanks to this, the defeated boss drops its rare shield, which turns out to be a highly coveted silver rank gear piece. He quietly thanks the goddess for this guaranteed top-tier loot, knowing this powerful artifact will be incredibly useful for his future battles. He immediately binds his mana to the shield, making the goddess squeal with pure excitement. Cut to some time later near Jamsil Station, where our main character just got a proposal flat out rejected, begging the attendant to reconsider to no avail. But he refuses to quit. Just 2 hours earlier, while driving, he literally watched his boss' shield convert into a massive, delicious meal, realizing his insane luck stat was already warping reality to feed him. But mid-drive, his cheap car started flashing every warning light on the dashboard. This meant he desperately needed a new ride, which was a nightmare since moving was already costing him a fortune. Now pay attention here. After that last brutal attack, he knew his only safe option was relocating to the heavily monitored player city. But that meant sacrificing his gear budget to pay for a secure apartment and a reliable vehicle, which put him in a massive financial bind. To pull any of this off, he needed quick cash. And right now, there was only one place capable of paying out that kind of money: the Adventurers Association. By signing up, he could run high-paying quests. Back in the present, the receptionist flatly refuses to let him register for a level 100 dungeon, urging him to pick a quest suited for a low-level newbie. But our hero insists he can handle it without any issues, totally confident in his skills despite only being level 17. She fires back, saying she once met a cocky rookie who said the exact same thing before getting slaughtered, and she is not letting history repeat itself. Sure, rookies overrate themselves, but unlike those fools, he is a literal regressor who knows exactly what to expect. Right in the middle of their debate, a mysterious figure steps up to ask what is happening. Meet Kim Miso, an elite hunter from the famous Eden Guild. Shin Sang-hyun recognizes her instantly as the Devastation Shooter, the legendary first player to hit level 100 and unlock that title. Even wilder, she is the daughter of a massive biotech conglomerate president. Her team includes Shin Tail, the Shadow Assassin, who happens to be the absolute top-ranked killer class in the entire country. Rounding out her squad is Cho Jin-ho, one of the nation's premier swordsmen. Backed by her wealthy father as the main guild shareholder, she basically holds the ultimate golden ticket in the entire adventurer community. Kim Miso admits she has never seen him around, asking why a complete stranger is desperately begging to enter a high-tier level 100 zone. Watching them, nearby hunters assume she's just pitying a greenhorn, since only an absolute amateur would ask for a suicide mission like that. He tells her straight up that he needs the cash. And yeah, I know what you are thinking. He actually got rejected by her guild in his past life, but he holds absolutely no grudge against her. Regardless, she points out a major flaw in his plan's single-player entries are completely banned, making his solo run legally impossible. The realization hits him: solo raids will not be permitted for another 4 years. Admitting his dumb mistake, he apologizes for wasting her time and turns to leave. But out of nowhere, she throws him a lifeline and invites him to party up. The surrounding crowd instantly freezes in absolute shock, practically burning with pure jealousy. He quietly wonders what her hidden agenda is. She claims she is just trying to support the new generation. But our guy remains skeptical. It is nothing personal. He just does not trust easily. She shrugs and says there is no catch, but warns him that if he ends up dragging her down, he will face severe consequences. He instantly realizes she is trying to test him. He knows her massive influence goes way beyond combat, as she is a supermodel whose signature outfits sell out the moment she wears them. But if she catches a rookie acting overly confident, she will ruthlessly destroy their career on the spot. Earlier, she realized her regular squad was too busy to run a dungeon, meaning she had to find a quick fill-in. When she walked in and saw a random guy pleading for a chance, she made a snap decision. Strict party rules had left him cornered, but to her, he looked like a warrior, bursting with quiet confidence. Since he was a complete mystery to her, she just couldn't resist finding out more. Back in the room, she asks which specific raid he chose. The receptionist reveals it is a defense trial, requiring them to purge all monsters heading toward the Guardian Tower. She is shocked he bypassed standard farming runs for a brutal defense layout. This tedious quest only ends once every single monster is slain, which is exactly why a full team of 4 is highly recommended. Yet he planned to solo it, which she thinks is a death sentence. Smirking, our hero asks if the tough details are starting to make her nervous. He tells her he is perfectly fine teaming up, but offers to let her bring backup if she feels unsafe. She scoffs and rejects the idea, confidently declaring that just the 2 of them can easily clear this. The instant they register the quest, they are both warped directly into the dark dungeon. The worried receptionist prays for their safety, while bystanders watch in complete disbelief. Even knowing her legendary strength, they cannot fathom how she and a low-level rookie can survive this nightmare alone. However, one veteran disagrees, pointing out that the association literally designed a special ranking system to evaluate a player's combat prowess and scale dungeon threats. This rating system evaluates two specific things: overall dungeon clears and pure combat instincts. Amazingly, she earned an incredible A+ rank purely off her elite, natural battle sense. Basically, there are no known monsters capable of overpowering her. That clueless rookie who tag-teamed with her is incredibly lucky to have such a terrifying force protecting him. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this plays out. Safely in the rear, this elite archer prepares to cover him, determined to save his skin if things get too ugly. Alright, you and I are about to see if Shin Sung-yoon's insane confidence is going to cost him everything on this mission. Just 30 minutes earlier, the protagonist had asked her to only step in if it was absolutely necessary, promising her 5% of the profits. Kim Miso accepted 5% just to watch from the back, but she argued that soloing this was impossible with at least 300 enemies nearby. Even for high-level players, she believed this mission would be a total nightmare. Still, the protagonist insisted he had this. So, Kim Miso offered a deal: she'd take 1% for every monster he missed, but if 95 got through, she'd get nothing. Back in the present, our hero faces the pack, determined not to leave a single wolf for Kim Miso. He plans to finish them all before she even blinks. With a sudden burst, he charges straight into the pack. Watching from above, Kim Miso gets a perfect view of his moves, realizing he's not just some arrogant rookie, but a genuinely skilled fighter. His stance shows off an incredible reach she's only seen from her own high-level teammate. Plus, he wastes zero movement, slicing through multiple wolves with every single swing of his sword. Still, she worries it won't be enough against the massive swarm surrounding Shin Sang-yoon. These aren't monsters a level 17 player should be able to handle. But wait, pay attention here, because suddenly, the entire pack freezes. Kim Miso realizes he just unleashed a massive stun skill. She's so shocked that she slips, almost falling from her high perch. Now she gets why Shin Sang-yoon was so cocky, but she can't help but wonder where on earth this guy suddenly came from. He keeps tearing through the mob, clearing out the smaller wolves until he finally stands face to face with the alpha, a massive black wolf leading the pack. Shin Sang-yoon has never fought this beast before, yet it feels strangely familiar. Suddenly, he realizes the monster possesses the exact same skill he has stunned. Even far away, Kim Miso gets hit by the shockwave, but a high-tier artifact saves her from the stun. She barely escaped, and she's sure the protagonist wasn't as lucky. She prepares to jump in and save him. She's convinced that even if Shin Sang-yoon has a stun skill, a low-level player like him can't possibly break out of a monster's counter-stun. But she's proven completely wrong when she sees him move freely. How is Shin Sang-yoon doing this? On top of his insane combat skills, his mastery over his powers at just level 17 is mind-blowing. Even the alpha wolf freezes in sheer disbelief, unable to comprehend how its prey just broke free from its ultimate trap. Capitalizing on that split-second panic, our hero finds the perfect opening. Boom. One critical strike, and the beast goes down. Looking at his ruined outfit, he sighs, but decides, since he's already dirty, he might as well have some more fun. Watching from afar, Kim Miso is totally speechless, left wondering how a monster like Shin Sang-yoon went unnoticed for so long. With back-to-back victories, the protagonist watches his level shoot up. Feeling her eyes on him, he smiles, knowing Kim Miso finally has all the proof she needs to believe in his strength. But the raid isn't over. The final boss, the Full Moon Wolf Lord, emerges and launches a ferocious assault, yet it can't even scratch our hero. Shin Sang-yoon knows this beast uses highly irregular patterns. 30 years from now, players will have completely analyzed it, but since he's a regressor from the future, he already knows every single move. He retaliates instantly, but the boss's massive defensive resistance keeps him from dealing heavy damage. Still, Kim Miso is deeply impressed. What really blows her mind is how Shin Sang-yoon wields that massive, heavy greatsword as if it weighs nothing at all. He continues his deadly dance, dodging every ferocious strike from the raging beast. He perfectly blocks an attack using his blade as a shield, making Kim Miso realize he somehow predicted the boss's move beforehand. Honestly, what's craziest is how Shin Sang-yoon keeps showing off his power, making us as viewers just as curious about his secrets as she is. Meanwhile, the actual fight is dragging on much longer than expected. He's used up his entire arsenal and has no tricks left. Looking at the boss, he wonders how the beast still has this much stamina. At this rate, Shin Sang-yoon feels like he'll pass out from sheer exhaustion. Suddenly, the boss prepares to charge. He realizes the beast is using a massive frontal attack as bait, planning to follow up with a lethal piercing strike. That deadly combo has claimed the lives of countless hunters, forcing our hero to make a desperate gamble. He strikes, successfully wounding the beast, but the wolf relentlessly charges forward anyway. Kim Mi-so gasps in pure shock. Shin Sung-yeon, who looked completely invincible until now, just took a devastating direct hit. Even though they just met, she's deeply shaken. Watching him pull off such godlike moves made her lower her guard, which is why she failed to jump in and support him. Fearing the absolute worst, Kim Mi-so begins to apologize, but a sudden flash of blinding light cuts her off completely. Right before this moment, the protagonist had been discussing a newly acquired healing skill with his constellation. The catch? The skill could only protect one single part of his body, which seemed incredibly bizarre to him. Ultimately, he chose to shield his abdomen, the area most vulnerable to a fatal blow. He had sacrificed the orc's shield to forge this skill, and now it was paying off perfectly. He would have been a goner if that hit landed anywhere else. But the wolf struck his chosen defense point. Instead of crushing him, the entire impact reflected straight back at the beast. Severing the monster's right arm breaks its defensive barrier entirely. With its resistance gone, he delivers the final blow. As the boss collapses, a stunned Kim Mi-so slowly approaches. Our hero notes his stun skill worked 3 times, feeling quite pleased with his progress. He then teases Kim Mi-so, saying she finally decided to show her face. She snaps back that he should have shared his plan, since she was genuinely terrified he had died. Demanding to know how he predicted every single one of the boss's attack patterns, she asks if this is actually his second life. She admits she's met countless hunters, but he's the first to leave her completely speechless, never knowing what insane stunt he's going to pull off next. Grinning, he asks if she enjoyed the show. However, the mood shifts as Shin Sung-hyun senses some tension, noticing her looking at him with deep confusion. She mentions that his combat style feels like that of a veteran ranker, not a beginner. He panics internally, realizing he almost blew his cover as a regressor. Interrupting his thoughts, Kim Mi-so points out that the wolf is still breathing. Realizing the boss isn't fully dead yet, he steps forward to put the creature out of its misery once and for all. With that final strike, he secures his very first rank C title and unlocks a solo combat specialty. Kim Mi-so remarks that she already has that title from a previous solo clear, though she admits she only pulled it off thanks to a powerful artifact. Shin Sung-hyun replies that finding great gear is a skill in itself, earning a polite thank you from her. She keeps quiet about the fact that her artifact cost over 200 million won, making her gear carried run pale in comparison to him using a basic longsword. She changes the subject, suggesting he test his new title right now. But looking around, you and I realize there's absolutely nobody else here besides the two of them. Alright, stick with me because our main character is playing this smart. Since he is too exhausted to fight a high-level opponent, he rejects the duel. Seeing this, Kim Mi-so leaves first to call in a carrier team for their massive dungeon loot. He would have hauled it himself, but his body is completely drained. At least he made a solid impression. But then, she completely catches him off guard by casually giving up her 5% share of the reward. Shin Sung-hyun tells her that is not fair and wants to pay her back. She just smiles, saying they will have plenty of chances to team up again, telling him to treat it as a long-term investment. Hearing that, Shin Sung-hyun realizes he absolutely cannot let his guard down around this cunning girl. Now that the coast is clear, he can finally claim the prize he came for, the Blue Moon Stone. He is absolutely thrilled to hold an actual platinum rank artifact. An item like this is easily worth 1 billion won, enough to buy a nice apartment in Seoul. Suddenly, the goddess of luck takes all the credit, but he snaps back, insisting his own hard work earned this massive payday. Right on cue, the constellation of torn lips chimed in to complain, demanding they ban the goddess. Naturally, the goddess refuses to let anyone insult her blessing. Either way, our hero realizes he can still absorb 40% of the artifact's attributes before putting it up for sale. Doing this will make him completely unbeatable against beasts like wolves during a full moon. Moments later, he steps back through the portal, only to freeze when he sees a massive crowd waiting for his return. The mission manager is in total shock that Shin Sang-yoon cleared this alone. She is incredibly relieved, especially since she thought it was a suicide mission. Kim Mi-so steps in, admitting that no sane manager would let a rookie dive into this danger alone. But after witnessing his insane skills firsthand, she warns them to keep a very close eye on Shin Sang-yoon. Our hero had completely forgotten about the poor staff member and actually feels a bit guilty, realizing how genuinely terrified she was for his safety. Now pay attention, because here is where she makes her move. As hungry guild recruiters crowd him, Kim Mi-so boldly cuts in, declaring he already has business with her, saving him from their aggressive offers. Flashing a knowing look, Kim Mi-so asks him to back her up. He plays along, but cannot help but wonder what her real game is. Later, riding in a luxury limousine, he checks his phone and sees the prize money has already cleared, Miso explains that her rank A carriers looted the dungeon fast, but smugly adds that her personal influence did not hurt either. He gives her a quick word of thanks, but immediately after, she shifts closer, and Shin Sang-yoon senses that the real trap is about to spring. Getting straight to the point, she invites him to join her guild, Eden. Staring at the offer, he notes that she seems incredibly confident he will say yes. Miso confidently replies that there is a reason they call it Eden, and promises he will never regret signing up. Before his regression, he belonged to a tiny guild where he felt safe and accepted. But after a tragic accident destroyed everything, he learned his lesson. For now, staying a solo player is the only way to survive, so he flatly rejects her offer. Surprised, she asks if he intends to build a one-man guild instead. He praises her sharp intuition, but she just laughs it off as the daughter of a major corporate director. Honestly, with his tier of power, his plans were obvious. All she really cares about is keeping his secrets to herself. Hearing this, he realizes she is showing her hand, proving she is genuinely invested in making him her partner. Her negotiating skills are top tier, offering a win-win deal. Later, in the C-rank player district, he visits a high-end apartment and receives an attractive leasing proposal. He jokes that behind her polite smile, her pitch feels a bit intense. She maintains it is a perfect deal for both of them, thanking him for his business. Shin Sung-hyun is amazed at how fast this all moved, guessing the goddess of luck actually did him a solid. Let's pause and look at his new place, which was easy to move into. Standing in his quiet home, he reflects on his crazy journey. 2 days ago, he was just trying to process his sudden regression. Lost and confused, he had to act quickly. Yet, feeling raw power surging through his veins fired him up. He was tasting the thrill of youth all over again. He refused to waste this second chance, aiming to conquer everything he missed before. From that moment, endless opportunities poured in. Back in reality, he is blindsided when Park Jung-min, a famous reporter from the Gazette, contacts him. The journalist claims that rumors travel fast, and he heard our hero has been hanging out with Kim Miso. The reporter begs for a quick interview. Soon after, as Kim Miso drops him off, she reveals her guild is preparing to raid an uncharted portal and invites him to join their expedition squad. It is a 4-person team capped at level 120. She expects him to decline, but our hero agrees to go without a single second of hesitation. Since he rejected her guild invitation so harshly, she assumed he would turn down this dangerous raid too. But he is locked in on exploring high-tier portals, ignoring everything else. Regular dungeons are completely fixed zones, meaning the traps and monster spawns are totally predictable. Portals, however, are constantly shifting, making them pure chaos. Even so, Shin Sang-hyun knows that high risk always brings the absolute best loot. Plus, being the first to clear a new portal offers a massive chance to score legendary artifacts. He also guesses that Kim Miso is a veteran at running these wild zones. Since he agreed to go, Kim Miso suggests they swap contact info. She passes him her unlocked phone so he can save his number, but accidentally reveals a private screen she never wanted him to lay eyes on. She instantly panics, turning bright red as she tries to play it cool, mumbling that her head has been a mess lately. Still, they swap numbers. Back home, he wonders what is eating at Kim Miso, but knows even elite-ranked players carry heavy burdens. He has got his own secrets to guard anyway, and talking about his past life is absolutely out of the question. After all, the world would go wild if anyone uncovered his regression. He cannot help but wonder what happened to the constellation that sent him back. They survive years of hell together, and he genuinely worries about his cosmic companion. Meanwhile, in the Eden Guild's elite lounge, an annoying member named Cho Jin-ho complains that Kim Miso is completely glued to her phone instead of talking to him. She ignores his whining, explaining she is messaging Shin Sang-yoon about their upcoming co-op raid. Jin-ho scoffs, asking if this is the same rookie, who supposedly has a stronger stun skill than him and rejected their guild. He sneers that she must have a crush on the guy, which she quickly denies. She explains she is simply awestruck by his talent, claiming his godly swordsmanship is the best she has ever witnessed. And trust me, you and I can already tell this arrogant jerk is absolutely convinced no rookie could ever be better than him. Sometime later at a training ground, our hero calls Miso to discuss the mission. She reveals the portal materialized near Chunui Station, and their scouts have already cleared everything up to the midpoint checkpoint. Alright, you and I are diving right back in as she sends over some crucial files. After reviewing them, Shin Sang-hyun realizes this pairs perfectly with the brand new ability he just unlocked. He sends a quick thanks and promises to keep in touch. Just then, Yoon Dae-kyung points out that the Shin Sang-hyun he once knew is basically a famous celebrity now. And honestly, he can barely believe his eyes. Our hero downplays the whole thing, but judging by his reaction, Yoon Dae-kyung realizes the kid still hasn't received the big call yet. Confused, Shin Sang-hyun asks what he means, only for Dae-kyung to drop a bomb. He's literally on the front page of the Player Gazette. This completely catches him off guard since he was totally clueless. The absolute last thing he wanted was massive public attention, and he's highly annoyed they published this without even checking with him first. Dae-kyung tells him to celebrate the free publicity, but that's exactly what our protagonist is trying to avoid. Changing the subject, he explains why he actually called him out today, prompting Dae-kyung to hand over a bag stuffed with everything he requested. Shin Sang-hyun thanks him for the gear, but the older man quickly cuts him off, reminding him that absolutely nothing in this world is free. Pointing out these are just his dusty old weapons, Dae-kyung demands to know why he's buying junk instead of shiny new artifacts. Our hero claims he just wants to preserve the old man's legacy, but Dae-kyung isn't buying that weak excuse. In reality, Shin Sang-hyun knows these ancient relics have a much higher energy absorption rate, but since he can't explain that secret power, he just stammers out another quick cover story. Right then, a young woman approaches them. She apologizes for keeping them waiting, explaining that parking nearby was an absolute nightmare, but confirms she's fully ready to get down to business. Dae-kyung introduces her as a professional appraiser who will oversee their transaction, ensuring neither of them gets ripped off in the process. With that settled, she immediately activates her unique skills to evaluate the gear. After a thorough scan, she confirms the items are genuine and gives the green light to proceed. However, right before they finalize the trade, the veteran warrior makes a sudden request. He wants to see the kid's swordsmanship. Our main character humbly claims his skills aren't worth showing off yet, but Dae-kyung scoffs, arguing that after everything they've faced together, he's not blind to the fact that the kid is hiding his real power. Shin Sang-hyun was desperately hoping to avoid a confrontation like this. Still, he realizes blowing off a veteran who genuinely wants to test him would be incredibly disrespectful. He tells Dae-kyung to bring it on, asking the appraiser to step aside. Now, pay attention to this clash because things are about to get serious. Dae-kyung unleashes his sword skills, and our hero immediately senses that the old warrior has been training like crazy. But mid-swing, Shin Sang-hyun spots a glaring flaw and calls a sudden halt. He looks closely at the old man and asks if his left arm is injured. Shocked, Dae-kyung demands to know how he figured it out. Our hero explains that every time he swings with his right hand, his left shoulder twitches unnaturally, as if he's subconsciously trying to protect it from pain. Dae-kyung admits it's a lingering scar from an old battle. Because most of his past combat injuries concentrated on his left side, he's forced to protect it. Hearing this, our hero offers to help him correct it. He explains that old war wounds can actually be overcome, but only if you stop hiding from your weaknesses and face them head-on. He promises the veteran that he can entirely rebuild his form from his grip to his breathing patterns. It's going to be brutal at first, but with patience, he'll finally move past the trauma. Meanwhile, the appraiser watches from the sidelines in complete bewilderment, scratching her head over what on earth these two eccentric fighters are actually doing. Later on, our hero reflects on the massive deal. Spending over 400 million won was painful, but worth it. Still, he can't help but recall the appraiser's incredibly bizarre expression. Let's pause for a second, because right as he's planning to devour these artifacts before his next dungeon run, he gets distracted in heavy traffic and nearly runs a pedestrian over. Shocked, he asks if they're okay. Suddenly, a hostile guy storms up to his window, shouting that he's sick of waiting around and ordering him to get out of the vehicle right now. Our hero is completely lost, taken aback by the pure aggression radiating from this stranger. The thug threatens to set the car on fire with him inside if he doesn't step out immediately, and that's when the protagonist recognizes them. Meet Choa Young Cheol and Cho Seong-ho from the notorious Utopia Guild. Young Cheol is famous for hunting down low-level adventurers for sport, while his sidekick Seong-ho films the brutal beatdowns. Our hero remembers they used to be highly infamous online for making these horrific, violent videos until they finally crossed a line and got thrown in jail. Basically, they're just absolute human garbage. Now, they're trying to bait Shin Sang-hyun into a fight, hoping to stream his defeat for massive internet clout. All our hero wanted was to go home and consume his newly acquired gear in peace, but now he's forced to deal with this annoying roadblock. Stepping out of his car, he calmly asks them what they want. Young Cheol smugly tells him to relax, claiming he's only here to settle a personal score with him. He claims that tons of fans are complaining about his incredibly cheap ride, so he's kindly volunteering to trash this absolute eyesore of a vehicle for him. With a massive kick, young Cheol dents the car door, warning our hero to grab his trash and leave the area before things turn incredibly ugly. Meanwhile, nearby bystanders start noticing that a wild street fight is about to break out. It doesn't take long for the crowd to recognize our hero. Considering his face is currently plastered all over the news, Amid the chaos, Young Chil orders his sidekick to quickly search him online. Seong-ho reports back that this rookie allegedly cleared a level 100 dungeon entirely solo, with backup from the famous Kim Mi-so. But Choi Young-chae-il sneers, claiming the kid looks like an absolute weakling and questions the rumor. Song-ho agrees it's likely a massive misunderstanding, assuming Kim Mi-so carried the entire raid while this rookie stole all the credit. Confident they can crush him with ease, the duo realizes beating down a rising star will guarantee their upcoming video goes completely viral online. As Seong-ho sets up the live broadcast, Choi Young-chae-il steps up to our hero, throwing down an official duel challenge where the loser must leave the city forever. He smoothly adds that if our hero somehow wins, they will leave him alone forever, claiming he has absolutely nothing to lose. Our hero instantly agrees to the fight, but with one condition: Young Chae-il must bet 500 million won and his expensive designer watch or beat it. Hearing this, the hot-headed thug is absolutely furious at his sheer audacity. Seong-ho nervously alerts his partner that the live stream chat is exploding with excitement over this massive bet. Seizing the moment, our hero mockingly asks if he's suddenly gotten too terrified to fight. Trapped in his own web, Choi Young-chae-il has nowhere left to run. As both prepare to fight, a massive crowd gathers to watch the drama unfold. Our protagonist prepares his stance while his opponent desperately tries to save face, bragging that 500 million is pocket change and there's no way he'll lose to a rookie. He mockingly tells our hero to surrender while he still has his teeth. But as the match starts, he is instantly overwhelmed by Shin Sang-hyun's raw, explosive speed, realizing too late that the rookie has no plans of holding back either. Even if this punk starts begging for mercy, everything is broadcast live for the world to see. And that's where we leave it for today, with it worried Kim Mi-so watching the stream at home, terrified of the massive trouble he just got himself into. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild match where this spoiled rank B hunter, Choi Young-chae-il from the Utopia Guild, gets challenged. Suddenly, Shin Taeyang from the Eden Guild steps up to ask what's happening. She wonders why Miso looks so incredibly stressed. But looking at the screen, she spots our main character and realizes he is the exact guy Miso previously tried to recruit. Miso admits it, totally baffled as to why Shin Sang-yoon would even bother dueling this random clown. Taeyang notes his movements are actually sharp. Meanwhile, in the arena, Choi Young-chol starts panicking after a dangerously close call. Furious, he yells that our main character is a filthy cheater and vows to break him. But Sang-yoon effortlessly blocks the strike with his sword. Seeing his attack do absolutely zero damage, the guy loses his mind again. Honestly, it is not just him. Everyone watching is completely speechless, wondering where a monster of this level even came from. As for Sang-yoon, he is thrilled. For the first time since his regression, his body is finally moving in perfect sync. Rewinding 3 hours earlier, our hero just finished purchasing some equipment and thanked the appraiser. Soon, an excited Yoon Dae-kyung brags about making a fortune from the deal and invites everyone out for celebratory drinks. Sang-yoon immediately declines, claiming he has a super urgent meeting, which leaves Dae-kyung looking incredibly annoyed. He tries to drag the appraiser along instead, but she politely rejects him too. Little do they know, our hero's urgent plans involve literally devouring his newly acquired artifacts. After sneaking away, Sang-yoon checks the stats of his new gear and finds a massive 90% adhesion rate. Naturally, his patron goddess of luck proudly takes all the credit. He only expected 10% max, so this is a huge win for second-hand gear. Seizing the moment, he asks if she, a highly popular deity, has ever heard of a constellation called the Late Exemplary Student. Hearing this, the goddess gets instantly jealous, thinking her favorite hunter is trying to dump her for another sponsor. But our hero quickly reassures her. He explains this specific star is precious to him, and he just wants to make sure she is safe. Feeling generous, the luck goddess promises to dig up some info. With that drama sorted, he prepares his feast, using his unique skill to transform the physical artifacts into delicious food. Watch closely as the gear turns into his 5 favorite meals. Even if they are used, they are incredibly effective, and you and I have to wonder how insanely powerful he will get after eating them. Returning to the active duel, he sighs, feeling the power increase is actually a bit underwhelming for his taste. Enraged, his rival decides to unleash his ultimate move. While Miso watches anxiously from the sidelines, Shin Terry remains completely relaxed, confident that our protagonist will easily dodge the oncoming blow. Instead of retreating, Sang-yoon lunges forward, reminding the guy he still owes him 500 million and a luxury watch. Watching from the side, Cho Se-young-ho thinks our hero fell right into a trap. Suddenly, our hero is frozen mid-charge. Choi Young-chil smugly celebrates his victory as ice binds our main character's feet, leaving him completely trapped. Even Shintari is shocked, not expecting him to get pinned down so fast. But her companion knows better. The Sang-yoon she scouted can break this with ease, which is exactly why she wanted him in her guild. True to her words, he effortlessly shatters the ice, completely catching Choi Young-chil off guard. He cannot believe a mere rookie can purify status debuffs. But he is about to learn a very painful lesson as our hero teleports above him for a devastating ambush. Sang-yoon whispers that the safe training mode is the only reason the guy is still alive, because in a real fight his head would already be rolling. And just like that, the match is over. His rival's entire fan base gets to watch this embarrassing defeat live. Staring at the stream, Cho Se-young-ho senses an eerie aura around the rookie. Meanwhile, Shintari watches closely, realizing this kid has unlocked some hidden awakening power. Okay, I know what you were thinking. A psychedelic ability? Yep, it tires out enemies whenever they take hits, which is why our hero acts like he is totally untouchable. Miso points out he never used this strange skill when they met. Her friend replies that there are only two logical possibilities here. Either he had no reason to reveal his cards back then, or he can somehow copy epic new skills instantly. Meanwhile, at the shop, the appraiser realizes she made a huge mistake. One of the cheap items he bought actually contained a hidden attribute, but he really should have tested it before jumping into a live fight. She identifies it as a rare psychological effect. But with such a low activation rate, he would need insane luck to ever trigger it. She has no idea our hero is literally blessed by the goddess of luck herself. Moving on, he looks down at his defeated rival and demands his hard-earned prize money. Choi Young-chul is fuming, convinced he only lost because he underestimated the rookie. He thought the kid was just a loudmouth show-off. Denying reality, he refuses to accept this loss. He plans to retreat, regroup, and launch a serious counterattack, swearing he never would have accepted this duel if he knew the kid's true identity from the start. He blames his idiot friend for feeding him garbage intel, already plotting exactly how he is going to make him pay once this match wraps up. But our hero is already rushing in, warning him not to get distracted. If he still wants to play tough, he is going to get a much bigger taste of real power. He can beat him down endlessly, since training mode keeps them both from dying, no matter how brutal the damage gets. Terrified, Choi Young-chul begs him to stop, finally surrendering and promising to pay up. But our main character coldly replies that the duel is over, and now, it is pure revenge. The clown has no idea why, but our hero tells him he brought this on himself. Flashback to 3 days ago, when Sang-yoon visited his local mechanic. The mechanic tells him the repair is done, but strongly warns him to buy a new ride, because his current junker will not survive much longer. He was totally heartbroken. The mechanic insisted that the car is just too old, and no matter how much emotional value it holds, it is time to move on. Hearing this, our hero actually sheds a tear over his beloved car. Back in the present, he tells his opponent he messed with the wrong vehicle. Choi Young-chul sobbed and begged for mercy. But nothing will stop this beating. Soon, the entire arena and the online stream watch this grown man weep like a baby during his brutal thrashing. Watching his friend get absolutely demolished, Choi Sang-chul panics, no longer caring about his pride or the live audience. He tries to run, but a powerful figure suddenly blocks his path. Their guild manager arrives, telling them they just caused a massive disaster. Baekhyun finds it highly amusing, never expecting a rookie to crush Choi Young-chul so easily. Trust me, you and I are definitely ready for the next chapter. Let's dive into a crazy showdown as this smug manager tries to settle things peacefully with cash, only for our main character to completely cold shoulder him, asking exactly who he thinks he is talking to. Moon Baekhyun is totally thrown off by that massive ego. He sees our hero radiating confidence, but immediately senses a massive gap between his actual level and his skills, realizing this guy is definitely hiding a secret. Shrugging it off, Moon Baekhyun formally introduces himself as the manager of the powerful Utopia Guild and offers to make a highly lucrative deal. He promises the guild will cover every single cent of the damage, hoping to build a good relationship moving forward. But our main character does not hold back, casually demanding 2 billion won to settle the score. The manager nearly chokes on that massive number, but knowing he is cornered, he desperately asks if our hero would accept installment payments instead. Later, our hero finally gets home, only to find his front door completely swarmed by annoying reporters. After dodging their relentless questions, he slips inside to focus on what actually matters. He needs to prep for the massive upcoming raid. Between all the chaos, he left his training to the very last minute, but he figures his recent crazy stat gains will pull him through. Checking his status window, his numbers have spiked. He is itching to test this power in the field, yet a lingering doubt remains because his previous battle with the giant wolf exposed a massive weakness. He lacked the fine-tuned control he used to have. His current attack options are so limited compared to his past life, meaning if his recent enemies were even a fraction stronger, he would have died. Remembering his tragic end, he realizes he must grind harder than ever. He absolutely refuses to let history repeat itself and suffer that same terrible fate again. Even worse, the apocalyptic second invasion is set to hit in 2040. He has to stop that world-ending catastrophe from happening, no matter what it takes. To survive, he needs to reach the god-tier levels of the legendary knight who saved him as a kid. Suddenly, his phone buzzes. It is reporter Park Jung-min, calling to ask if he is actually showing up for their interview. Shoot! He had completely blanked on it. The raid kicks off at 7, while this sudden interview is scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. Now pay attention here because he only has 15 minutes left, meaning he has to sprint. As he bursts outside, the press swarms him again, forcing him to unleash a dark aura that warns everyone to get out of his way. Moments later, the reporter spots our hero arriving, but immediately senses that something is majorly different about him. He notices our main character looks physically different and asks if he just crawled out of a dangerous dungeon. Shaking his head, our hero apologizes for the delay. Brushing it aside, the reporter kicks off the interview, eager to dig into all the crazy incidents surrounding our hero, who is currently the hottest topic among high-tier adventurers. He points out that raw levels mean nothing under the new ranking system. And after such an explosive debut, everyone is hyping him up. He then asks if our hero knows that major guilds are desperate to recruit him. Our hero admits he has gotten a few offers, but assumes the public only cares about the legendary Eden Guild. The reporter drops a massive bombshell instead, asking if he has heard from overseas. He reveals that 5 massive international guilds have already filed official paperwork with the association just to verify his identity. While they usually hunt for top-tier seasoned veterans, our hero's insane achievements clearly put him right on their radar. Our hero finally realizes he is pulling in way more global hype than he ever expected. Walking down the streets after the interview, he quietly processes the shocking news. In his past life, he grinded like crazy and got absolutely zero recognition, but now global superpowers are literally chasing him. Suddenly, he bumps into Kim Miso, who notes they still have some time before the portal opens. But wait, you and I both see that Miso is not alone, and our hero instantly recognizes the legendary girl standing right next to her. Miso explains that her hyperactive friend was practically begging to meet him. She formally introduces them, and Shin Tairi is absolutely thrilled to finally meet our legendary protagonist face to face. Our hero thinks there is absolutely no way he wouldn't recognize her. Literally every adventurer in the country knows Shin Tairi. She's a massive global superstar, and the sole reason the Eden Guild is so insanely popular. He feels incredibly lucky just to stand in her presence, but to his absolute shock, Tairi suddenly asks for a favor, demanding they clash in an immediate training duel. Miso instantly scolds her friend for challenging a guy she literally just met, but Tairi defends herself, arguing she needs to personally test if he is truly worthy of joining her guild. Miso quickly apologizes, explaining her friend has a bad habit of picking fights just for fun. But to their complete shock, our hero calmly agrees to the battle. He tells them they can settle this right here, right now. He adds that it is not every day a top-ranked player in the country offers a rookie such a golden opportunity to test their limits. Terry smiles, noting her friend has a great eye for talent, and declares she is ready to go. Our hero knows he is outclassed, but he refuses to let this incredible chance slip away. He knows survival won't be easy, even for a friendly spar. But there is no backing down now, so he decides to unleash everything he has right from the get-go. Miso is completely stressed out, wondering how a simple greeting escalated to this. Warning him that she is striking first, Tairi activates her high-speed movement skill, completely disorienting our hero with her sheer velocity. He realizes blinking for even a millisecond against a monster like her means instant defeat. Tairi is absolutely loving the thrill of the fight, while our hero scrambles desperately just to dodge her strikes. She compliments his quick reflexes but warns him she still has plenty of tricks up her sleeve and won't stop until she lands a clean blow on him. Knowing she outclasses him in raw speed and power, he decides to use his old trick. He must completely block out his vision, relying purely on his other sharpened senses to predict her movements. Miso freaks out, calling him completely insane for closing his eyes in the middle of a battle against a top ranker. She has no idea why, but our hero knows exactly what he is doing. The exact moment Tairi strikes, he successfully blocks it blind. Shocked by his insane focus, she remarks that average swordsmen could never pull this off, as it requires years of high-level battle experience. She admits it feels like fighting a hardened veteran. Our hero then smirks, telling Tairi she doesn't need to hold back, and boldly asks her to go all out on him. Tairi is genuinely confused by the request, but he quickly explains he's not trying to be cocky. He simply wants to witness the absolute limit of a high-level player. Knowing this rare opportunity might never come again, he begs her not to hold back. While Miso desperately tells her friend to stop, Tairi agrees that she cannot go completely all out, but she will show him her top speed. With a nod, he says that is more than enough. As Tairi positions herself, our hero knows a single mistake means instant defeat, bracing himself as she charges forward. Moving at supersonic speed, the raw pressure of her charge shatters every window nearby. He swings his blade to counter, but Tairi activates her illusion skill, instantly slipping right behind him. She lands a direct hit, immediately checking if he is okay. Despite coughing from the impact, our hero smiles, admitting he is surprised she actually had to use her illusions. Rubbing his head, he accepts her apology and thanks her for not holding back. That is where we leave it, and trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Let's dive into this crazy raid, where Tairi asks our main character, Shin Sang-yoon, to just talk next time instead of fighting. He does not hesitate to agree, but Kim Miso suddenly warns them the raid is starting. Miso demands that her friend write a detailed report of today's events. Tairi has no clue how insanely dangerous her reckless actions actually were, and she needs to realize that fast. After a quick apology, Tairi begs Shin Sang-yoon to call her right after the raid. As she leaves, our main character can't shake the bitter taste of defeat. This is officially his first loss since returning. The ambush caught him off guard, but it lit a fire under him. He has a new target now, and he won't stop grinding until he completely surpasses Tairi. A bit later, they arrive at Chungmi Station. Standing right before the massive portal, Kim Miso introduces the rest of the crew. They are hyped to meet him, and he humbly replies that the honor is all his. First up is Park Tae-suk, a confident young mage specializing in explosive ignition magic. Our hero realizes this is pyromancy, the exact same power as Choi Young-chul, whom he already beat. But Tae-suk claims he has trained his whole life with fire, making his flames far stronger than any cheap imitation. He's currently sitting at stage C of the blue flame, knowing he still has plenty of room to grow. Shin Sang-yoon respects the grind. Focusing on one skill is the way to go. The only reason Choi lost before was because he spread himself too thin, wasting energy on weak tricks instead of mastering one deadly power. Next, Miso introduces a shy girl named Kang Ju-hee. She is a rare spatial grip mage, meaning she controls spatial connections. Ju-hee wants to show off her abilities too, since her teammate did, but Miso quickly stops her. Playing with spatial magic is way too dangerous outside a dungeon. Still, our main character senses a massive surge of energy. This is no ordinary spatial grip. He instantly realizes she can summon full-scale portals, allowing the entire team to teleport instantly across the battlefield. Watch closely as this shy girl quietly confirms her wild portal abilities, hoping she'll be useful during the raid. Shin Sang-yoon knows she is the ultimate missing link. With him taking the front line, Miso sniping from afar, Tae-suk covering the gaps with fire, and Ju-hee providing instant escape portals, they have the perfect party. He realizes the only thing keeping them from being flawless is a dedicated healer. Their chemistry is off the charts, proving they have fought together many times before. To our hero, that deep trust and synergy are the most critical factors for surviving any deadly dungeon. He has valued teamwork since his past life, but Miso snaps him back to reality. She asks what is on his mind, hoping her friend did not actually injure him during their duel. He tells her he is fine, just briefly lost in thought. But the moment they step through the portal, they are blasted by an icy gale in a frozen wasteland. Shin Sang-yoon immediately thanks Tae-suk, knowing the party would have frozen solid without his thermal buff, keeping them safe. Miso notes the weather was definitely not this freezing last time. Suddenly, she notices a second weapon strapped to him and asks why he is only now carrying a shorter sword alongside his primary long blade. He plays it off, explaining he might need a lighter blade for quick slashing combat, but deep down, he knows the real reason he never used it before is because he literally just acquired it. Moments later, the first monster emerges, and Miso quickly barks out orders to coordinate their attack. Ju-hee snaps her fingers, opening a portal. A massive cyclops swings at Miso, but its heavy club hits nothing but dirt. She and Shin Sung-hyun have already teleported, landing right on top of the beast. Our hero tells her to cover him as he charges straight at the cyclops. The giant beast is completely blindsided by his relentless speed. Hovering above, Miso calls for a combo attack, and Tae-suk reacts instantly. She lets loose an arrow that blinds the cyclops, opening a perfect window for Shin Sung-hyun to slash the beast. Immediately after, he shouts at Ju-hee to reposition them. She conjures another portal from afar, but the raging monster swings wildly to crush our hero. Luckily, it only smashes the empty snow as he vanishes. You and I both know a giant like that should be tough, But Shin Sung-hyun teleports right above its blind spot and instantly drops it with one single, devastating finishing blow. The party stands there in absolute shock, unable to believe a single strike felled such a massive threat. Miso speaks up right away, admitting she should have warned them about the absurd levels of power Shin Sung-hyun possesses. She confesses she had the exact same reaction during their first fight, and honestly, he is still holding back his true strength. Shin Sung-hyun quietly smiles, realizing that despite this being their very first dungeon run together, their teamwork is actually incredibly smooth. Feeling incredibly optimistic about this crew, he asks if they are ready to push deeper. After easily clearing out several more giants, an ecstatic Tae-soo showers him with praise, swearing he is the absolute best frontline swordsman he has ever partnered with. Shin Sung-hyun politely thanks him, glad to carry his weight. Miso giggles and points out that Tae-soo rarely gets a reliable vanguard, which is why he is acting like an excited fanboy right now. Our hero understands that without a solid shield, mages are forced to play incredibly defensive. Still, he feels the heavy praise is getting a bit overwhelming, and it does not stop with the fire mage. Even Miso joins in on the compliments, admitting that although she watches him fight constantly, his growth and skill always find a way to blow her away. A quick flashback reveals they were recently cornered by a massive horde of savage ogres. Just as despair was setting in, the protagonist calmly instructed his ally to open a warp portal directly in front of the charging beasts. Miso desperately warned him about the giant demonic ogre leading the pack, but seeing the absolute resolve in his eyes, she realized there was no stopping him, leaving her with no choice but to trust Shin Sung-hyun blindly. Ju-hee summoned the portal right before the beast, and Shin Sung-hyun rocketed through at blinding speed. With one clean, brutal arc, he sliced the massive boss in half, leaving the entire squad speechless, defeating an elite monster that effortlessly is unheard of. Back in the present, Miso admits she has never witnessed such a terrifyingly powerful combat technique. Seeing how incredibly well they are cooperating, she feels she can fully place her trust in this squad. Suddenly, Ju-hee shushes everyone, whispering that they have finally reached their destination. Peering over a rocky cliff, they spot their target. A giant, terrifying three-headed Cerberus is apparently sleeping. Ju-hee suggests sneaking past using her portals, but the protagonist immediately shoots that idea down. He refuses to leave a massive boss monster alive for other raiders to claim. Miso urges him to think logically, but she can clearly see the burning hunger for battle in Shin Sung-hyun's eyes. Anxious, she asks if he even has a plan. Shin Sung-hyun calmly states it is best if he handles this solo, claiming there is simply no time to explain the details. For his powerful night age skill to function properly, the moonlight must be completely visible in the night sky. If even a single cloud blocks it, his strategy is completely ruined, so he must strike immediately, whether his party agrees or not. As he creeps closer, the massive Cerberus snaps its eyes open, revealing it was faking its nap. But Shin Sung-hyun is completely unfazed, having already predicted this exact trap. Behind him, Miso begins to panic, but Ju-hee quickly points out something highly unusual: the beast is not actually attacking him. Miso recalls the beast being hyper-aggressive during her last run, yet it hesitates cautiously before Shin Sung-hyun. She can't comprehend it until she realizes it won't attack, and trust me, you and I are about to find out why next time. You and I are starting today with Shin Sung-hyun easily taming a literal beast. This giant Cerberus senses his overwhelming power and bows down, making this look effortless. He takes the beast down anyway, feeling slightly guilty about defeating such an obedient creature, but any regret vanishes the second he unlocks a sweet new healing skill. Just then, the rest of his team finally catches up to him. Our main character instantly panics because he did not expect them to arrive this quickly. He has kept his true abilities a total secret, and he is definitely not ready to explain things just yet. To make matters worse, he worries Kim Miso will demand the rare artifact dropped by the beast. But surprise, she actually tells him he can keep it, since he took down the monster entirely on his own. He thanks her but quietly asks her to keep it between them. Miso promises to stay quiet, saying the rest of the squad already agrees with her anyway. He breathes a sigh of relief, realizing he must be way more careful when gathering loot. Right then, the squad leader decides to lead the group ahead, giving our hero some privacy to sort out his rewards. She has noticed that he always does something secret with his new loot, and she wants to shield him from suspicious eyes. This completely catches him off guard. Miso admits she has known for a long time, having figured it out during their very first raid together. Back then, she wondered why he insisted on staying behind in the empty dungeon all by himself. And that is when she saw what he was doing. Our hero feels totally cornered and speechless, but Miso surprisingly assumes he is just a rare class of adventurer who performs sacred rituals. She explains that ritual users exist elsewhere too, telling him there is absolutely nothing to worry about because his secret is perfectly safe with her. She then tells the rest of the squad to move out and give him some space. He realizes she totally misunderstood, but luckily his actual secret remains completely safe. He decides to quickly consume the artifact before catching up. Soon, the party presses onward, and Ju-hee opens up a teleportation portal just like our hero requested. Both leaders thank her, with our hero emphasizing how crucial she is to his master plan. Confused, Ju-hee asks if this strategy will actually succeed, since she cannot understand how piling up dead monsters will lure out the massive dungeon boss. He explains that this specific dungeon boss is driven entirely by hunger, meaning it will definitely show up to claim such an easy feast. Now, pay attention here, because Ju-hee is still suspicious and asks how he knows this. He dodges the question entirely, telling the mage to burn the corpses before they all hide near the blazing fire. Tae-suk complains that 20 minutes have ticked by with absolutely zero action. But right on cue, our main character spots a massive shadow, signaling that their target has finally arrived. It is time for the ambush. Out steps the final boss, a colossal frosty brown bear absolutely starving for a fresh, meaty meal. Watching from the shadows, Miso knows he is the only reason they have survived this far, but she fears this terrifying monster might actually be way beyond his power level. Even the strongest hunters have their limits, and deadly encounters like this have retired countless veterans. Rewinding a few minutes, our hero had pitched a crazy plan to act as bait, claiming it was the absolute safest and fastest way for them to clear this high-rank raid. He explained that giant monsters share a hidden trait that triggers when their health drops dangerously low, sending them straight into a state of pure gluttony. A beast in this state grows insanely powerful and violent, eating literally everything in sight. That is why he gathered the ogre carcasses together, but our hero had a secret trick up his sleeve for this feast. While the mage gathered the corpses, the rest of the crew collected juniper wood to act as a powerful tranquilizer. Tae-suk realized the real challenge would be dealing enough damage to actually trigger that berserk state. Our main character promised he would create the perfect opening for their attacks, begging the team to trust him. Now let's jump back to the present, and yeah, things look incredibly bad. He is one hit away from death, and this massive beast does not look tired at all. He genuinely thought he could handle this raid, but he realizes he made a massive mistake. He cannot comprehend why this boss is so overpowered, and he honestly starts to fear he might not survive this encounter. So, dropping his guard, he focuses entirely on dodging the incoming strikes, but even that fails because the beast has lightning-fast reflexes. He regrets jumping in, but luckily, his squad steps up to rescue him, as Miso unleashes a volley of arrows to distract the giant monster. He admits he owes her his life. Wanting to turn the tide, he charges straight at the bear with everything he has, dealing massive damage and freezing the beast solid for a precious moment. Believing this is his golden opportunity, he pushes forward with maximum effort. But somehow, even while frozen, the beast manages to move. Miso yells that it is Tae-suk's turn to strike. The mage charges up his devastating fire magic, shouting at our hero to fall back. He quickly retreats, leaving the frozen bear wide open. The fiery impact is absolutely devastating, completely shattering the boss's icy armor. Our hero is genuinely blown away by the sheer scale of the blast. He hopes the damage was enough, and right on cue, the boss's status shifts into gluttony mode. The colossal bear stands up, prepared to consume everything, completely catching our hero off guard. He definitely did not expect this level of sheer aggression. Watching from afar, Tae-suk notices the monster has morphed so drastically it looks like an entirely different nightmare. Our leader asks about Ju-hee's status. Tae-suk replies that she is still preparing, chanting a massive teleportation circle way beyond her normal limit. But he warns that she is not their biggest worry right now. The real question is whether our hero can stay alive long enough for that magic to activate. Facing the beast, he realizes their plan is falling apart, creating a deadly scenario. With everyone's lives on the line, he knows he cannot back down. He decides his only choice is to unleash his full power and confront this terrifying beast head-on instead of trying to run. Just as our hero is about to be eaten alive, Ju-hee screams that her magic is ready and instantly activates the massive teleportation sequence. In the nick of time, the portal swallows the beast and flings it far away. Channeling that much mana nearly makes Ju-hee collapse, panicking the squad, while our hero realizes he took an incredibly reckless gamble. Had his strike missed, that ferocious beast would have absolutely shredded him. Ultimately, he has just relieved the plan succeeded and his entire team made it out safely. The teleported bear quickly devours the pile of ogre bodies before searching for more food. Luckily, the meat was heavily drugged, and the powerful sedatives kick in, sending the massive beast crashing to the ground. Miso praises our hero for his genius strategy. With the raid successfully cleared, he claims his well-earned bonuses. The squad leader wraps things up by thanking everyone, especially celebrating Juhi's heroic effort. Juhi admits this intense battle helped her realize the true boundaries of her magic. He thanks her for trusting his wild, last-minute scheme, hoping they can team up again in the future. Reflecting on the chaos, our main character knows that without this squad, this raid would have been his absolute last. During his past life, raids into uncharted dungeons constantly ended in absolute disaster. High-reward portals usually boasted a 90% survival rate, but only because they were cleared by elite hunters. But our hero and his old friends belonged to the other 10%, losing allies with every single raid. He barely survived those days, and honestly, you and I can see why he grew so used to saying goodbye. Let's dive into his story where getting stronger is everything, but this time, our main character wants to do things differently. He refuses to watch his comrades die like they did before. But first, it is time for loot. The defeat screen for the massive bear pops up, and everyone steps forward to claim their rightful share of the dungeon rewards. Shin Sung-hyun goes to claim his, but his patron goddess of luck stops him, wanting to show him how her blessing actually works. Trusting his constellation, he hopes this gamble makes his prize even crazier. When the reward screen opens, he is greeted by a selection of top-tier unique artifacts. He has never seen treasures like these in his life, and the sheer value has him absolutely thrilled. And thanks to his lucky goddess, a secret passive effect exclusive only to unique rank gear suddenly unlocks. He had completely forgotten, but this was a clause in his contract with her. Naturally, she expects a little gratitude for her help. Since the rest of his team is totally distracted, he decides to quietly lock in his prize. It is an easy choice since he already had his eyes on one specific weapon, the Great Spirit's Sword of Battle. He picked it knowing exactly how strong it was, but the second he grabs the hilt, the blade slams into the floor. He is left completely stunned by just how insanely heavy it is. Kim Mi-so walks over to check on him, but he brushes it off like nothing happened. Quickly changing the subject, he points out how everyone on the team scored some incredible loot. Their leader insists they only survived because of his hard work, so they want to show their appreciation. The entire party has agreed to let him keep the dungeon boss's magic stone. He tries to turn it down, but Juhi insists they all want him to have it because of his insane carry. Feeling grateful, he sincerely thanks them all for their amazing generosity. Between his own rewards and this magic stone, he calculates a total resale value of around 150 million. Just thinking about the money makes him grin like crazy inside. Now pay attention here, because as they finally step out of the dungeon portal, Kim Mi-so invites him to celebrate, but he decides to take a rain check for now. Mi-so is totally fine with that since they will cross paths again, but she asks if she can call him sometime. Even though he really wants to say no, he realizes that is a bad move and agrees to swap numbers. Delighted, she says goodbye. Her warm reaction catches him completely off guard, since he never expected to see her looking so bright and happy. She was so open about it that the rest of the guild is left a bit flustered. Once they part ways, he realizes he cannot even carry his heavy new weapon home, so he has no choice but to absorb the sword directly into his soul right there on the street. Now that the sword is absorbed, he checks his status screen to see his massive level-up gains. His base attributes got a solid boost, but he decides to dump every single free point straight into luck. With his luck max, his critical hit rate skyrockets to an insane 600%, completely crushing his past life stats. He feels unstoppable, but then a sudden alert breaks his concentration. Brand new cosmic constellations descend to contact him, including the Lion King, Blackbeard, and the deadly Shadow Huntress. He never expected such powerful beings to seek him out this early, but he assumes his luck goddess pulled some strings, since she seems to be incredibly popular among the celestial crowd. Sizing them up, he knows the Lion King and Blackbeard are legendary names, historical heroes who transcended humanity to become powerful gods. Their heavy pressure is suffocating, but the one that truly terrifies him is the Shadow Huntress. She is easily the most dangerous being here, and the last deity he ever wanted to attract. She is a cosmic bounty hunter who hunts down hunters who broke taboos or gained unfair power. In his previous life, he heard horror stories of her completely destroying high-tier players she labeled as cheaters. Now I know what you are thinking. He should just sign with them, right? But he is terrified she will expose his regression, and his lucky goddess is honestly more than enough. Yet, turning down an incredible, once-in-a-lifetime offer like this feels like a major waste of potential. He knows that above these beings lie the legendary mythic constellations, though signing with one is nearly impossible. Taking a massive gamble on his future, he rejects every single offer for now. His lucky goddess is absolutely thrilled, while the other deities storm off in pure rage. But before fading, the deadly Shadow Huntress warns him that she will uncover all of his deep secrets. The threat leaves him feeling deeply uneasy, but dwelling on it will not help. He realizes the absolute best way to clear his anxious mind is to throw himself straight back into work. He spots a nearby low-level dungeon crawling with wild wolves and refuses to pass it up. Even though he is exhausted from his last raid, he knows he cannot stop grinding until those mythic tier gods finally take notice of him. Meanwhile, over at the association headquarters, the portal analysis team is doing their routine work when a receptionist receives a highly unusual call. Panicking at the news, she alerts the entire staff that an active gate has ruptured at exit 1 of Bupyeong Station, demanding that all nearby high-rank fighters deploy to the scene immediately. But the caller on the line reports something totally bizarre. There is already an adventurer fighting on site. The frantic witness explains that this crazy guy is taking on the entire horde completely alone. The operator urges the public to retreat immediately because of the extreme danger. The caller understands, but points out that the lone fighter does not look like he is in any trouble at all. These dimensional rifts, which first appeared 11 years ago during the Great Break, are unpredictable disasters where terrifying monsters pour into our world, destroying everything in sight. But what catches humanity off guard is a walk in the park for our hero. He lived through this nightmare once already, meaning he knows exactly what to do. 10 minutes earlier, he was already waiting. He stepped off the train and waited patiently. Right on cue, the space cracked open. In his past timeline, this exact gate became a historic tragedy that claimed countless innocent lives. Having grown up in an orphanage from a very young age, he has absolutely no memory of his parents. He was never lonely back then, but everything shattered when the monsters took his only family away. He only survived because a hunter saved him. Now he wants to be that savior for someone else. And to protect people, he must become the strongest. As the dungeon break begins, a pack of vicious wolves lunges at him, but he triggers a crowd control skill that completely paralyzes them with fear. Seeing them freeze up makes him smile, but he quickly realizes the skill's effect is weaker than usual. He figures it is due to the complete lack of moonlight tonight. With the night sky completely overcast, these beasts refuse to submit quietly. But honestly, that just makes things way more fun. If they will not yield, he will just put them down himself. He uses this perfect opportunity to field test his new weapon's power. He swings, but his blade does not even touch the nearest beast directly. Instead, the blade unleashes a swirling vortex of raw energy, instantly swallowing the front pack. The shockwave sweeps up the rest of the horde, blasting several monsters straight back into the portal. You and I both know how useful a massive area of effect skill is for speed farming. He is absolutely loving how effortless it is to wipe out entire mobs in a single swing. Even better, his stacked luck stat massively multiplies his critical hit damage. Still, he notes the wolves survived the initial blast, meaning his strike was not quite a one-shot kill. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the action. A car suddenly stops as the passengers spot a massive rift. Association hunters step out of the vehicle. When Lee Hein asks who reported the threat, a terrified woman steps forward, pointing at the beasts escaping the rift. He immediately orders her to find cover, promising they will take care of the danger. But his partner, Lee Jung, spots something else and points out they are not alone. There, right in the thick of it, they see our main character casually thrashing the monsters, leaving them both completely speechless. Assessing the chaotic battlefield, Lee Hyun assumes this random guy is in over his head, so he prepares to jump in and assist. But Shin Sung-yoon flatly rejects them, warning everyone to stay back. When a skeptical Lee Jung asks if he is actually serious, our hero simply nods. He wants to test his newly unlocked limits without any annoying distractions. Stacking every single buff simultaneously, he unleashes a devastating strike to test his raw output. The result is pure destruction, sending the massive monster flying like a broken ragdoll. The two hunters watch in absolute shock, while our protagonist quietly admires his own ridiculous power. Seeing the monster drop dead, they can only stare in disbelief before slowly walking over to this absolute beast of a rookie. They praise him for preventing any casualties, calling it an absolute miracle since unchecked rifts typically end in total disaster for the local area. Lee Hyun thanks him but quickly notices the active portal. Knowing only high-ranking elites usually raid these, he eagerly asks if they can tag along with Shin Sang-yoon to witness his skills firsthand. His partner hates the idea, but Lee Hyun desperately begs to join the raid. Our hero shrugs it off. He is going inside anyway, and if these two want to risk their lives following him, he will not stop them. Stepping through the gate, the protagonist charges ahead with the duo trailing behind. He moves with such incredible speed that they can barely keep pace. Lee Hyun is awestruck, whispering that this guy must possess god-tier combat instincts. He hopes to watch closely from the sidelines and learn a few tricks. But Lee Jung is suspicious. How does Shin Sang-yoon still have so much stamina after that brutal fight outside? Lee Hyun realizes his partner is right, recalling how terrifyingly intense that initial skirmish actually was. Now pay attention here because as they press deeper into the ruins, they get totally ambushed and surrounded by a vicious pack of hunter wolves. Our hero saw this coming miles away. Snatching a wolf by its throat, he uses it as a meat shield to block the oncoming volley of arrows. Not a single projectile pierces his defense. Seeing the two hunters panic, he instantly regrets bringing these sidekicks along. But with beasts everywhere, there is no turning back now. Realizing he is their only hope for survival, our protagonist switches from defense to offense. He rains down ranged attacks to draw aggro, before blitzing the wolf archers to wipe them out completely. With the high ground cleared, he celebrates reaching the second floor of the dungeon. But his loud victory instantly draws the attention of a much bigger threat. A sudden strike forces him to block at the very last second. That was way too close. Looking up, he realizes this beast is no ordinary wolf, it is a champion. Basically, a mini-boss. This elite champion wields a heavy shield and, unlike brain-dead monsters, actually fights with tactical intelligence. One wrong move here means game over. Mitigating damage as he blocks, Shinseng waits for the perfect opening, then unleashes an explosive strike that shatters the champion's shield entirely. Even our hero is stunned by his own insane damage output. He did not just destroy the heavy shield, he completely annihilated the elite monster in a single blow. He realizes it is the power of the full moon buff. With this active, clearing the remaining pack is going to be a breeze. While the duo struggles downstairs, the protagonist wipes out the entire floor in seconds, looting a pair of swift shoes that boost his movement speed. Cobalt wolves always drop the best gear, and the timing is perfect. Looking back at his two tagalongs, he notices they actually survived and did surprisingly well. Let's pause here. This dungeon raid is going way smoother than expected, but as he reaches the massive chamber doors, we both know the real test is about to begin. The chamber is a massive gladiatorial arena, but what truly stuns him is the mountain of gold coins glittering across the stone floor. He immediately moves to gather the loot, completely unaware that the glittering gold is just a bait trap laid by the boss hiding in the shadows. The monster fires a deadly bolt from its crossbow, but his godlike reflexes save him just in time. He immediately counterattacks, lunging forward with a ferocious sword strike. But the beast dodges effortlessly. That is when it clicks, this is no ordinary wolf. He is fighting the Cobalt Emperor, the legendary supreme leader of the pack. Another bolt flies, narrowly grazing him. He realizes a single moment of carelessness against this boss will cost him his life. Honestly, this boss is getting on his nerves. Outside, the two tagalongs hear the explosive clash echoing from behind the heavy iron doors. They burst inside to help, but instantly freeze when they lay eyes on the monster. The Emperor's overwhelming pressure suffocates them, leaving them completely paralyzed with fear. So, it is a solo fight. Shin Sang-yoon charges, roaring that ignoring him was the beast's final mistake. His blade strikes true, but the boss barely flinches, its high armor absorbing the entire impact. Our hero realizes he will have to put everything he has into his attacks to break this beast down. To make matters worse, he now has to play bodyguard because his two teammates are completely paralyzed and useless. The monster's aura is terrifying enough to freeze S-rank hunters, proving it is in a league of its own. But Shin Sang-yoon does not scare easily. Pressing the assault, he gets countered as the Emperor raises its guard and unleashes a barrage of arrows, forcing our hero to retreat. The boss backs off too, keeping its distance. It knows its only chance at winning is maintaining a ranged advantage. This beast is incredibly intelligent, making closing the distance a nightmare. Even worse, its recovery speed is insane, meaning a single miscalculation from our protagonist will result in instant death. If he does not end this fast, the boss will overwhelm him. Glancing around the room, he spots the gold treasure pile, giving him a brilliant idea. Meanwhile, the frozen hunters watch helplessly. Lee Hyun admits he has never felt such a terrifying status effect, leaving him totally unable to move. But Lee Jung notes that Shin Sang-yoon seems entirely immune to the fear aura, fighting at full strength. Lee Hyun believes in him, but a dark feeling still creeps in. Suddenly, he spots something terrifying. The stray arrows fired by the boss are sinking into the floor. Lee Hyun screams a warning, but Shin Sang-yoon steps onto the gold and sinks. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how he escapes this deadly shot. Alright, you and I are about to see Shin Sang-yoon cornered as that deadly arrow finds its mark. The monster lunges to finish him off, but our hero has a wild trick up his sleeve. Shin Sang-yoon laughs, telling the beast that if it actually had a brain, it would have noticed he stopped dodging those attacks long ago. Now it is payback time. Channeling raw energy straight into his blade, he strikes with a force that shatters the room and absolutely guts his opponent. Watching from afar, Lee Jung realizes the gold coins scattered all over the floor were actually used as deadly projectiles. Lee Hyun is completely stunned, having never seen an adventurer with such insanely sharp combat instincts. Meanwhile, Sang-yeon corners the boss, calling it his most annoying opponent yet but warning that he has no plans of backing down now. Enraged, the monster swings wildly, but its weapon instantly shatters into pieces. With its guard down, the boss takes a fatal strike. Slaying the beast triggers a massive level up, boosting our hero's stats and showering him with some seriously high-grade loot. Inspecting the drops, Shin Sang-yoon smiles. These top-tier items are begging to be devoured. But before he can feast, the two panicked adventurers suddenly scramble right back to him. They yell that they have to escape immediately because the dimensional rift is collapsing, threatening to trap them forever. Our main character was so obsessed with his new loot that he completely lost track of time. Forced to move, he snatches the main boss drop and abandons the rest as the two adventurers literally drag him kicking and screaming toward the exit. Outside, a worried crowd waits by the portal. When the group finally steps through, the cheers quickly die down as onlookers notice the adventurers looking completely devastated, leaving everyone totally baffled as to why they look so miserable. Now pay attention, because the reporter immediately corners Shin Sang-hyun to ask how it feels saving the city. Our hero can barely mumble a response, still grieving over the lost loot. Meanwhile, in a high-tech training room far away, Association Mage Cho Lee Hyun is blasting training golems. She's not training alone, though, because Tyree is right beside her showing off. Swapping magic for raw physical power, Tyree moves like a blur, absolutely shredding these enemies with ease. Her blade mastery is unreal, and she treats this warm-up like a real-life or death battle. Slicing heavy stone golems in half like butter, she leaves her partner completely speechless. Tyree is pushing herself hard just to preserve the thrill of her fight with Shin Sang-hyun. She is practically burning with desire to test her limits against him once more. Honestly, she really regrets not grabbing his phone number back then. Suddenly, a flashing breaking news alert pops up on her holographic system screen, detailing a wild, unranked rift. The broadcast confirms the danger is over, introducing the mysterious hero behind it all. The reporter eagerly asks Shin Sang-hyun what his secret was for clearing a dungeon with 0 casualties. Our hero casually replies that he was just doing his job. Watching this, Tyree smirks, never expecting to spot him on television like this. The reporter highlights that the boss was level 150, begging to know how he managed to take down such a terrifying beast. Shin Sang-hyun calmly points out that a level difference does not dictate who wins a fight. Tyree fully nods in agreement, realizing from his confident tone that he completely understands the true depth of his own power. Even during their first meeting, his quiet maturity stood out, and now she is more curious about him than ever. She wonders if he has a secret pact with a powerful constellation, just like her, since that would explain his abnormal growth. Wasting absolutely no time, Shin Sang-hyun enters his inner soul space, totally hyped to finally devour his prizes. He remembers how early players used to rely entirely on bulky bodybuilder-style physiques to survive. But as deadlier monsters appeared, players who relied purely on brute strength while ignoring agility quickly became nothing but easy prey. Everything shifted when Gyeong-su, the legendary sword demon, emerged to prove that raw power is not the only stat a hunter needs. Gyeong-su ditched heavy armor and excess bulk for a perfect balance of speed and power, preparing him for any threat. In his past life, Sang-yeon ignored this rule, but he is determined to correct that mistake now. You and I would probably gag here. He converts the loot into food, but only 2 items look delicious, while the last one looks totally putrid. Regardless, he has to choke it down. Sometime later, a massive crowd gathers outside his house as hired guards struggle to hold back a wave of aggressive reporters trying to force their way inside. Annoyed by all the constant harassment, he hired private security just to keep the vultures away. He wants to go out for some fresh air, but with reporters camping on his lawn, that is out of the question. Feeling a bit restless with a free schedule, he decides taking a small break might actually do him some good. Suddenly, his phone buzzes. It is Kim Ji-hae from the association, reminding him of their brief encounter during his last visit to their headquarters. She explains they want to award him an official plaque of honor for successfully shutting down that deadly rift. But Sang-yoon hates the spotlight, especially since he knows the true dangers looming ahead for unsuspecting players. That rift was just the tip of the iceberg, and he needs to keep a low profile while he prepares for what is coming. He flatly rejects the award, but Ji-hae urges him to at least collect his special dungeon pass, granting him exclusive entry to the silent solo dungeon he wanted. Sang-yoon is shocked they actually approved it. She explains that his mind-blowing heroic deeds forced the higher-ups to reconsider and greenlight his request. He remembers that every monster inside this zone relies heavily on silence magic. A quick flashback reveals a past conversation where an old teammate tearfully brought up his late sister. He explained that before her tragic death, his sister entered a silent dungeon. But because she depended entirely on her magic, she was utterly defenseless against the monsters. Since she lacked any physical combat skills, her brother deeply regretted not going back in time to drag her away from that place. Returning to reality, Sang-yoon accepts the pass, intending to head there immediately. A bit later, he is happily cruising in his brand new car, loving how much better this rear-wheel drive feels compared to his old junker. He did not plan on making such a flashy purchase, but after his face hit national television, riding the subway in secret became completely impossible. During his drive, Kim Jae-ha calls to remind him his reservation starts today, adding that a staff member is already waiting on-site to assist him with entry. Trust me, you and I can relate when you are grinding hard. A whole week flies by before you even notice. Regardless, he is totally dying to test his brand new skills in action. But suddenly, he hits an absolute nightmare of a gridlock, which makes no sense since he specifically chose an off-peak hour to avoid traffic. Anxiously, he wonders if a fresh dungeon just broke open nearby. But the real answer hits him when he spots a massive crowd around a portal, where none other than the sword demon, Du Jung-soo, is being interviewed. Alright, let's jump in. A massive portal just spawned in a busy intersection, drawing Jung-soo and his cheering fans. A reporter asks how he feels about his sudden fame, and his polite answer about it being an honor bores her. She wanted something far more exciting. Hoping for drama, she presses him on the upcoming raid. But Jung-soo just shrugs, saying he will do what he always does, crush monsters. Despite the boring reply, she finds his blunt honesty pretty charming. Meanwhile, Shin Sang-yoon tries to slip past the crowd unnoticed, but his presence immediately draws a reaction. The media instantly spots him, hyping up this rare face-off between two powerhouse legends. One of Jung-soo's allies whispers that Shin Sang-hyun is the solo beast who cleared a massive rift all by himself. But Jung-soo already knows exactly who he is, shocking his teammate. A reporter instantly jumps in, asking Shin Sang-hyun if he showed up to challenge the top dog. Our hero denies the rumor, claiming it is just a pure coincidence. But when he glares over at Jung-soo, he spots him flashing a smug smile. Shin Sang-hyun wonders if that grin is pure mockery. No matter what, he knows he still has to get way stronger before he can actually challenge the legendary sword demon one day. Jung-soo tells his team it is time to move out. He has met countless arrogant players, but Shin Sang-hyun is different. He does not look at him with awe, but like a massive wall he intends to climb. Jung-soo knows their paths will cross again. Meanwhile, leaving the hectic media circus behind, Shin Sang-hyun makes his way straight toward the eerie silent dungeon. He admits Jung-soo is on a completely different level, showing zero openings even while relaxed. But the bigger the target, the more satisfying it will be to crush him. Now pay attention, because when he arrives, Kim Jae-ha's team is blocking the entrance to the dungeon. Our hero steps right up to see what the chaos is about. An angry adventurer snaps at him, yelling that just because he is famous, Shin Sang-hyun does not get to ignore the rules of honor that every player must follow. Shin Sang-hyun realizes things are unfolding exactly as he predicted. He had some doubts about the exact timing, but his memories are serving him perfectly. He remembers that today is the tragic day his teammate's sister died right inside this dungeon. He just did not expect her to be this incredibly hot-headed. The siblings are total polar opposites. Either way, he is not holding back. He takes a firm stand and tells her that feeling frustrated does not give her the right to talk down to people like that. He flatly states his entry is fully authorized by the official association schedule, meaning he is done wasting precious time on arguments and is heading straight into the dark dungeon. The furious girl warns him she won't forget this. Shrugging it off, Shin Sang-hyun steps into the danger entirely alone. Immediately, a sickening, rotten stench hits him, which makes sense since this place is crawling with undead. Suddenly, a decaying hand bursts from the dirt, grabbing his leg. The dungeon's silence debuff instantly triggers, locking away his magic powers. But he already anticipated this, calmly drawing his blade to slash the monster to pieces. As the noise attracts more undead, he realizes that a single touch from these creatures blocks his magic. From here on, he cannot let them touch him even once. His only option is to destroy them all before they can get close. Meanwhile, far away, the 4th reconnaissance team of the association is holding an urgent meeting. The team director announces they must discuss the man of the hour, Shin Sang-hyun, who is currently stealing all the headlines. One analyst points out that standing up to Kyung-soo was highly impressive. Still, they are all left wondering how a rookie who awakened only recently is already shaking up the entire hunter community. Team leader An Ik-jun admits, this is the rookie everyone is hyping up, but he remains highly skeptical of the rumors. The vice leader, Shin Min-jae, shares those doubts, arguing that supposedly talented players appear on the scene all the time. You might be thinking they are just jealous, but without knowing his true limits, they want to hold back on judging his achievements. Lee Ga-hee strongly disagrees, insisting the hunter is not the type to manipulate data or lie. The other members sweat nervously, realizing this is about the 100th time she has publicly opposed the vice leader. The team leader asks if she has solid proof. As the team's top strategist, she reveals she has been keeping a personal eye on Shin Sung-hyun. She has compiled a detailed analysis of his combat records over the past few days, urging them to review it so they can see the shocking truth for themselves. Shin Sang-yoon is no ordinary hunter. She projects a standard player's progress chart next to Shin Sang-yoon's insane growth rate, highlighting the massive, unbelievable difference between them. The room gasps, unable to believe the crazy statistics. But the vice leader scoffs, claiming Lee Ga-hee has completely lost her professional objectivity. Shin Min-ji rejects the statistics, arguing that such a crazy speed would put him on par with the legendary sword demon. But Lee Ga-hee stands her ground, explaining she personally double-checked the records and even tracked down every single one of Shin Sang-yoon's former teammates to verify it. A quick flashback reveals her interviewing Yoon Dae-kyung, asking if our hero had any bizarre or unique habits during combat. Yoon Dae-kyung recalled that Shin Sang-yoon's combat skills were terrifying, especially how he flawlessly changed stun effects, though he claimed even that was not his greatest feat. The real magic lies in his supernatural combat instincts. When interviewed, other teammates like Park Tae-suk and Kang Joo-hee also praised the hero's flawless battlefield performance. They explain that he does not just outperform others, he is always one step ahead. Even though he is a rookie, he fights with the brilliant tactical mind of a seasoned veteran. Intrigued, Lee Ga-hee pushes them for more specific details. Park Tae-suk explains that fighting alongside Shin Sang-yoon made him realize his combat instincts are absolute god tier, predicting every opponent's move beforehand. While normal players hesitate and show clear moments of weakness, Shin Sang-yoon's body moves on pure reflex, acting much faster than actual human thought. Essentially, he possesses a terrifying combat sixth sense, something ordinary players would have to train for decades just to hope to replicate. No matter how bad the odds, he always finds a path to victory, making even the most overwhelming bosses look completely amateur in comparison. Reviewing the testimonies, she realizes his instinct borders on future sight. Back in the boardroom, she argues that even as a rookie, Shin Sang-hyun is already performing on par with elite rank hunters. Lee Ga-hee even suggests he might be a hidden rank S player, but the stubborn vice leader instantly laughs off the ridiculous claim. He argues that predicting the future is impossible, especially knowing dungeon rift locations before they open. But Lee Ga-hee fires back, revealing her wildest theory. Shin Sang-hyun is actually a time traveler who came back from the future. While the leader acknowledges the rookie's insane talent, he thinks the time travel theory is just a bit too far-fetched, so he assigns her to secretly monitor Shin Sang-hyun alone, which she eagerly accepts. But trust me, you and I are going to want to see how he survives this dungeon, because right now, that rotting smell is making him sick. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where our main character is sick of getting ambushed by random enemies. Suddenly, he remembers his active detection skill. Talk about a major facepalm moment. With it turned on, he can see exactly where every enemy is hiding. But then he notices a tiny fly nearby and wonders, is this bug actually a monster? He touches it and got his answer immediately when it exploded, nearly blowing Shin Sang-hyun to pieces. Luckily, his insane reflexes saved him from getting wiped out, but he still ended up with some serious, painful burns. And the worst part? Explosive flies mean there is a dangerous mage-type monster nearby. His best move right now is to escape as fast as humanly possible. But boom, huge explosions detonate right beside him, proving his theory correct. Meanwhile, back at the guild meeting, the vice leader asks Lee Ga-hee if she uncovered anything else about Shin Sang-hyun, like a secret hidden ability, rather than just his raw, godlike combat instincts. If their data is correct, this guy has a totally unique way of learning brand new skills. Lee Ga-hee admits she cannot confirm it yet, but her theory suggests Shin Sang-hyun is an absolute monster of a player who completely defies logical explanation. Days before entering the silent dungeon, Shin Sang-hyun trained relentlessly. Aside from his brutal physical conditioning, he ran simulated battles against the previous boss. After 3 days of training, he realized something. Unless you eat rare artifacts, unlocking active skills boils down to one simple thing: consistent, non-stop training. But that only unlocks passive skills. Active skills only trigger mid-combat or drop as rare loot from defeated monsters. Top players keep this info secret since active skill triggers are highly specific. But Shin Sang-yoon has years of elite experience behind him, and those mages trying to blow him up definitely did not expect that. Thinking no one could survive their explosive trap, the mages unleash a barrage of magic to wipe out our hero once and for all. Shin Sang-yoon thinks about how hard he worked to unlock his defensive sword technique. Its major flaw is that he cannot move while casting it. But hey, rules are meant to be broken, and he is ready to gamble. Now, watch closely here. He actually combines his offensive and defensive skills to charge forward, completely ignoring their magic. The mages try to counter, but it is too late. With one slash, he wipes them all out. But this is just the warm-up, because the real dungeon boss is still waiting. For now, he focuses on his immediate reward, the glowing loot dropped by the mages. He finds a purple stone, a magic artifact worth a staggering 100 million credits. Still, he decides to collect it later since his main priority is clearing this dungeon. Activating his detection skill again, he notices there is only one lone enemy left up ahead, leaving him wondering where the others went. Out of nowhere, the boss spawns right behind his back. Realizing it is too late to block, he leaps high into the air as a devastating smash pulverizes the ground below. Looking down at the crater, he realizes why this area is completely empty. The other monsters must have fled in terror because this boss is ruthless enough to butcher its own allies. After all, they do not call this monster the Death Knight for nothing. Shin Sang-hyun has no idea why it is roaming outside the boss room, but he knows one thing. This exact beast murdered his best friend's sister. Now, standing face to face with the killer, it is time you deliver some serious, long overdue payback. But this mid-boss is absolutely no joke. Every single heavy strike reminds Shin Sang-hyun of the danger. This creature is a resurrected soul bound to a completely immortal, undead suit of armor. Its passive aura, the Swamp of Silence, automatically silences anyone who gets struck by its attacks. This is exactly why the association restricts access to this place. It is a death trap for the unprepared. And Shin Sang-hyun knows this danger level is way higher than what the official reports claim. I know what you're thinking, it is just an undead monster. But if that trap's soul belonged to a legendary master knight, the threat level spikes dramatically. In his past life, the Hunter Association realized this too late, resulting in countless unnecessary casualties. After the system updated, only rank A and rank S players could enter. Back then, Shin Sang-hyun never dared step foot in here. Now, experiencing it firsthand, he is starting to regret his choices. Rushing into an elite zone like this was incredibly reckless, and it might cost him his life. But honestly, he is sick and tired of constantly dancing with death. Old habits really do die hard. Every time his back is against the wall, he starts doubting himself, and he knows that mindset will keep him weak forever. He cannot back down. He is going to charge straight ahead, even if this ends up being the final battle of his new life. Sensing his fatigue, the boss lunges with a lethal execution strike, but he barely evades it. Still, he desperately needs a second to recover his stamina. Suddenly, he spots lower-tier monsters hiding in the shadows, along with a nearby exit gate. Bolting for it without hesitation, he is immediately cut off by a swarm of undead zombies. Shin Sang-yoon anticipated this trap. Steel clashing against bone, he carves through the undead, but he can hear the boss closing in rapidly from behind. No matter. He uses these weak mobs as fuel, slaying them to rebuild his stamina. Needing a safer spot, he sprints forward and bursts into a massive, cavernous arena. This chamber is absolutely crawling with monsters. Honestly, that is great news, since more targets mean he can siphon even more stamina back. But the boss catches him completely off guard, closing the distance instantly. Shin Sang-yoon dodges a massive swing, only to realize the attack was actually aimed at the other monsters. The smart bastard realized Shin Sang-yoon was using them to heal and obliterated his own troops. Now, our hero is totally isolated with nowhere left to run. This leaves Shin Sang-yoon in a corner with his plan ruined. Left with zero options, he stops running and prepares to strike back, despite his low combat power. He goes on the offensive, but the boss anticipates his desperate charge and counters first. The heavy blade connects, inflicting massive, bone-shattering damage on Shin Sang-yoon. His remaining energy is completely wiped out by that single strike. Yet, he refuses to yield. Trapped in despair, memories of his past flood back, watching his comrade die in his arms. His dying friend made one final request, begging to be buried next to his little sister. Shin Sang-yoon tried everything to heal him, but it was already too late. Staring down his opponent in the present, he realizes he made a fatal error. This boss is vastly superior to him, and he severely underestimated the sheer threat level. He genuinely believed he was ready, charging in without proper preparation. But he will not give up now. This is a literal fight for survival. You and I know this is about more than just old revenge. He is fighting to prove something to himself. Shin Sang-yoon failed to protect those he loved in the past. To ensure history never repeats itself, he cannot back down. He originally believed his skills were just weaker, but in this moment, he realizes something incredible. All right, you and I are about to watch a crazy battle where the enemy seems to have the upper hand. But as the beast lunges, Shin Sang-yoon keeps dodging, forcing his foe to move faster and faster. Shin Sang-yoon realizes that if the enemy cannot land a single blow, raw power means absolutely nothing. Seizing his chance, he unleashes a devastating counterattack that lands perfectly. His heavy charge strike stacks 600% damage, hitting the knight dead on. Yet, the monster still stands. Shin Sang-yoon knew from the very beginning that this life-or-death struggle would not be easy. Sensing his imminent defeat, the boss ignites his residual flames to self-destruct. This completely blindsides Shin Sang-yoon, who fully expected a warrior of this caliber to fight honorably to the bitter end. But looking at the sheer volume of energy swirling around the knight, the horrific truth dawns on him. This monster wants to trigger a massive blast that will instantly incinerate everything, including our hero. With the enemy's suicidal plan exposed, Shin Sang-yoon knows approaching is a death sentence. One step too close, and he gets vaporized. It is the ultimate trap of a cornered beast with nothing left to lose, but he refuses to become collateral damage. Realizing he has mere seconds before the blast, he bolts in the opposite direction. But the furious boss immediately gives chase, determined to drag his opponent straight to hell with him. Now, Shin Sang-yoon has to run for his life while desperately dodging lethal attacks from behind. It is a brutal struggle, but the relentless knight keeps closing the distance. Suddenly, the boss charges up a devastating special ability. He telekinetically controls his sword from afar, launching it straight at Shin Sang-yoon to pin him down. Shin Sang-yoon barely evades the flying blade, deflecting it away. Yet, even disarmed, the blazing monster refuses to slow down and continues his terrifying pursuit. He pushes his speed to the absolute limit, even as his internal organs scream in agony. He cannot stop. In this deadly race against the clock, escaping the explosive blast is his only hope of survival. Now, watch closely, because he suddenly trips and crashes down, leaving him completely defenseless. His mind races in panic, knowing that if he fails to react right now, he is completely done for. Flashback to the past. He had entered this exact dungeon before, carving through waves of undead. Back then, his only goal was helping his best friend avenge a tragedy involving his sister. Shin Sang-yoon aggressively pushed forward to clear the path, while his friends safely trailed behind. Frustrated back then, Shin Sang-yoon complained that the battle was incredibly unfair because the enemies kept casting silence on him. With his skills locked, his friend suggested using a recovery potion, but Shin Sang-yoon saw no point since silence usually blocks item use too. But his companion urged him to play smarter. If he timed the potion perfectly, he could exploit a split-second window of recovery before the silence debuff could reapply itself. Used this way, a simple potion becomes a game-changing trump card. Back then, Shin Sang-yoon simply laughed, saying that if he possessed such tactical genius, he would be a high-ranking adventurer already. Returning to the present, Shin Sang-yoon realizes his friend's wisdom still holds true. He downs a potion, successfully purging the silence effect, and prepares to strike back. A temporary opening is all he needs to turn the tides. The boss is absolutely furious, but our hero knows he cannot make a single mistake now, having expended every drop of his mana on this final gamble. While dangling from a massive chandelier, the monster strikes. At the very last second, Shin Sang-yoon lets go, causing the charging enemy to crash violently into the ceiling. With zero room for error, it is truly now or never. The knight quickly untangles himself from the debris and charges once more. He briefly regrets not waiting one more second before dropping, but the real mistake was underestimating this opponent from the start. Had he taken this threat seriously, he would not be pushed to the brink of death. He even begins to question if this painful regression was worth it. But right as the deadly boss is about to crush him, the creature suddenly begins to crumble into dust. Shin Sang-yoon breathes a sigh of relief, realizing pure luck saved him before the boss completed his self-destruction. His regression journey will continue, and as the ashes settle, a victory bonus notification pops up. He receives a massive wave of experience points, far exceeding any previous dungeon clear. While his health pool fully recovers, he notices his depleted stamina remains completely unchanged. This must be a severe penalty for pushing his limits so recklessly. Despite surviving, he reflects on how incredibly close he came to death and realizes he needs to change his approach. Moving forward, mastering his unique psychedelic ability must be his top priority. But before he can even celebrate, the severe backlash hits him, sending a wave of agonizing pain through his organs. To make matters worse, relying on his psychedelic powers carries a high risk of random penalties, which is exactly what he is suffering from right now. I know what you were thinking. It was either this or death for Shinseng Hyun. But what saved him is now destroying him inside, while outside, Kim Ji-ha waits anxiously. Unlike her, the remaining party members assume he is simply taking too long. While a few suspect something went terribly wrong, their cold-hearted female leader could not care less. She casually states that whatever happens inside is a direct result of one's own choices, focusing only on when she gets her own turn to enter. As our protagonist lies unconscious on the cold ground, roaming zombies spot an easy meal and close in. Fortunately, the goddess of luck intervenes, her divine presence instantly scaring the monsters away. She attempts to wake him up but quickly realizes he is completely out cold. Spotting no other options to comfort him, the goddess decides to lie down peacefully right by his side. Eventually, Shin Sang-hyun opens his eyes. Startled by how much time has passed, he quickly realizes that is the least of his worries, as his body is in too much agonizing pain to even stand up. He clearly overexerted his body, but survival left him no other choice against an opponent of that caliber. Oddly, the remaining monsters did not touch him while he was vulnerable, which makes zero sense. Then, he spots the goddess of luck sleeping nearby and understands she protected him. He feels incredibly relieved knowing his constellation is watching his back. Brushing aside the mystery, his primary instinct is to escape this dungeon immediately. But right as he prepares to leave, he spots a glowing magical artifact lying on the floor. It is the Ring of Silence, a rare drop from the defeated boss. Its unique enchantment significantly accelerates the wearer's mana regeneration rate. Annoyed, Shin Sang-hyun feels this disappointing accessory is a joke after risking his life. But remembering the massive chunk of experience points he earned, he opens his status screen to see just how much he leveled up. To his absolute shock, he has reached level 83. He quickly realizes the true treasure of this raid was not the loot, but the insane experience points. He was only level 58 after his last raid, meaning this single run boosted him by 25 levels. Despite the subpar ring, Shin Sang-hyun knows this legendary experience gain made the entire ordeal entirely worth it. With this rapid growth, he will soon rank among the nation's strongest elites. Meanwhile, all his muttering finally wakes the goddess of luck from her deep nap. Still too weak to make the journey back, he sets up a small campfire to rest. Looking at the flames, he recalls how camping was a tedious chore in his past life. Yet, in this timeline, it feels like his first moment of genuine relaxation. He notices the goddess looks far more relaxed than him. She softly advises Shin Sang-hyun to slow down and appreciate life's small pleasures, just as she does. He once shared that peaceful view, but things have changed. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how he saves this world when there's zero time to waste. Alright, you and I are diving in as he devours the Ring of Silence. Absolutely thrilled that the legendary item actually looks delicious to eat. Plus, he remembers how in his past life, he only ever saw gourmet food like this on YouTube. Now that he is actually eating it, this moment feels like a dream come true for Shin Sang-hyun. The goddess admits she is curious about how he pulls this off, mentioning that a legendary ability to devour items is incredibly rare. Shin Sang-hyun explains that every adventurer gets an awakening, and this was simply the skill he received. The goddess calls him incredibly lucky to awaken with it, totally unaware of just how deep Shin Sang-hyun's actual luck runs. Even as a divine constellation, she knows nothing of his past life, and he intends to keep his regression a secret. She just smiles, feeling blessed to find an adventurer with such insane growth potential. Hearing that praise, Shin Sang-hyun realizes it might be true, but there is still someone else out there with even greater potential. Back in the day, that adventurer was the undisputed #1 in the entire world. His name was Jaron Decay, a legendary figure from the United Kingdom whose magical power surpassed the strength of any monster. Compared to a titan like that, our main character feels incredibly weak, but he hopes that one day he might reach that absolute peak. Either way, he promises to trust his constellation to guide him, swearing to give everything he has to prove his loyalty. Deeply moved by his words, the beautiful goddess can't help but pull our main character into a tight hug. She promises to do absolutely everything she can to be the ultimate companion by his side. However, this sweet moment is cut incredibly short. Shin Sang-hyun only took down the dungeon's mid-boss, and the real nightmare is still waiting. While the last enemy was a mere knight, this final boss is the king of the silent dungeon. Watching them approach, the boss sneers that someone has finally arrived to cure his boredom. Now, he wants to see just how long his new guest can keep him entertained. Now, pay attention here, the boss actually sits back and waits instead of striking. This gives Shin Sang-hyun the perfect window to fully recover, and he is more than ready to unleash absolute chaos. Plus, He isn't fighting alone this time around, giving him the confidence to conquer this deadly dungeon once and for all. The battle erupts. The boss attacks relentlessly, mocking how pesky pests always flee before getting crushed to dust. He promises this time will be no different, as our main character barely dodges a lethal magic blast right off the bat. Shin Sang-hyun quickly realizes these spells are blocking every possible path, keeping him completely at bay. He knows dodging forever isn't an option, and he desperately needs to find a way to strike back. He has plenty of mana, but wasting it on attacks that won't connect is a death sentence. Analyzing the battlefield, he realizes the enemy plan is simple: drain his energy before he can even throw a counterpunch. To be honest, it is a brilliant tactic. The boss is already celebrating his guaranteed victory, believing a mere insect, useful only for amusement, could never defeat a king ruling over his own domain. The attacks keep raining down, showing off the boss's near-infinite pool of magic. But our hero stays locked in, knowing that against a monster this powerful, a single blink could cost him his life. Shin Sang-hyun quickly deduces his opponent is a high-ranking sorcerer with immense reserves, capable of chanting multiple high-tier spells at the exact same time. He also remembers that spellcasters usually need both hands to cast effectively. If they try casting with just one, the attack loses a huge chunk of its destructive power. But this boss is no ordinary mage. He's actually using the hands of corpses scattered on the ground to boost his spells, making this fight incredibly tough to survive. Regardless, Shin Sang-hyun knows he has to seize the very first opening. But as he tries to push forward, the king sneers at his mistake, instantly hitting him with that annoying silence spell he absolutely despises. But he yells that he doesn't even need skills, deciding to bet everything on raw physical combat. The boss laughs, easily dodging the blade and mocking his futile attempt. Ready to put this insolent pest in his place, the boss begins channeling a deadly fire spell, but his eyes go wide as a sharp blade suddenly appears right before his face. And yeah, I know what you were thinking. Did that actually land? Oh, absolutely. As the direct hit connects, our hero tells the stunned boss that luck is his greatest ally. The monster collapses after taking the heavy strike, unable to accept this sudden defeat and wondering how it's possible. Shin Sang-hyun tells him that for a king, he isn't very bright, revealing his special skill that counters the silence. The boss spits back that he already knew about it, since he had been watching him closely during the previous battle. In fact, he had fully analyzed his combat style and mana capacity, ensuring he had everything required to win. There was absolutely no way he could fail because his strategic calculations were flawless. Our hero simply replies that sometimes, even a cornered pest can end up completely outsmarting its predator. Outside, the young girl who had been waiting anxiously near the entrance spots someone emerging. She is thrilled to see him exit, but Shin Sang-hyun is completely baffled by the massive crowd gathered outside, wondering what is going on. A swarm of reporters rushes forward demanding details about his dungeon raid. Meanwhile, medics try to run an emergency checkup, even asking for his blood type. Our main character stands there completely lost in all the chaos. Standing next to her brother, the girl admits she is shocked Shin Sang-hyun made it out completely unharmed, realizing she probably overreacted when she called for backup. Shin Sang-hyun is completely stunned. Amidst the chaotic crowd, his eyes lock onto just one person, his dearest friend from his past life who has absolutely no idea who he is right now. Shin Sang-hyun remembers that in his previous timeline, after 10 years of grinding, he desperately needed a squad for a raid, but due to his weak stats, he struggled to find any party to accept him, feeling completely isolated from the world. But then, a group of players finally approached him, inviting him to join their raid for the very first time. The party leader was thrilled to recruit another swordsman, while Shin Sang-hyun was happy for a completely different personal reason. Yet, incredibly, he still chose to reject their kind offer. At that time, he was so accustomed to playing solo that stubborn pride pushed him to keep it that way. Because of that foolish ego, he entered the dungeon completely alone and almost died, if not for a sudden miracle. That same night suddenly appeared inside the dungeon to offer his blade. He admitted he knew how dangerous this place was, knowing that going solo was basically a suicide mission. So, despite being rejected, he followed our hero all the way in, knowing he would need backup. In that life-saving moment, Shin Sang-hyun finally swallowed his pride and thanked him. That simple gesture changed everything. He finally agreed to join their guild, and for a long time, everything went perfectly until a certain dark day. Eventually, his best friend confessed he could no longer take the pressure and wanted to leave the guild. He was exhausted from constant near-death battles and wanted a normal life before he ended up dead, just like so many of their comrades. After his younger sister left, he had founded this guild to support and protect other struggling players who had nobody else. But after witnessing so much tragedy, his spirit was broken. Our hero wanted to support him, but since the guild was now massive, they couldn't afford to lose their leader. So, he foolishly convinced him to stay. Back in the present, he decides to fix his past mistakes. He walks up and warns his friend never to start a guild, and trust me, you and I can feel the weight of those words. All right, you and I are jumping right into a total mystery. This poor guy has absolutely no clue why a legendary adventurer is suddenly singling him out in public. He claims his memory is completely blank and asks the protagonist if they have met before. This triggers the young man's furious sister, who aggressively confronts him just for talking, forcing Shin Sung-hyun to walk away. Meanwhile, deep inside a residential zone populated entirely by monsters, a sinister group is plotting as they walk. One of them grins, stating these humans are absolutely perfect for his plans. Back on Earth, breaking news reveals that the legendary adventurer Shin Sung-hyun has miraculously cleared the deadly silent dungeon all on his own, overcoming impossible odds. The reports show that Shin Sung-hyun warned the association about the massive danger. Apparently, the dungeon is far worse than they thought, and the boss is on an entirely different level. Watching the screen, our hero realizes the association is already handling it, which means no other hunter will be dumb enough to step inside there anytime soon. He remembers barely surviving that nightmare in one piece. But what he took home was way more than just raw experience. A quick flashback reveals that before escaping, he secured crucial data regarding the mysterious late bloomer model student constellation. On top of that, he bagged some ultra-rare gear and a special inventory backpack. The final boss dropped insane loot, leaving Shin Sang-yoon absolutely thrilled with his massive haul. He is ecstatic to finally have enough inventory space to hoard tons of loot on his next raids. Shin Sang-yoon marvels at how this new life keeps handing him legendary skills he has never even heard of. The goddess of luck chimes in to take all the credit, claiming her blessing is the only reason he is winning. The protagonist agrees she helped, but he definitely deserves some praise too. He immediately converts his new items into food, but the results are so incredibly high-class this time that Shin Sang-yoon cannot even identify the gourmet dishes sitting in front of him. Still, food is food, and he needs to eat. Taking a bite, he is hit with a flavor so divine it feels literally cooked by the gods themselves. Naturally, he inhales the entire feast. Once finished, he absorbs the items as usual, though he immediately regrets not having a second serving, because that meal was hands down the most delicious thing ever. Now pay close attention, because this is where his build gets absolutely crazy. The system forces him to choose between two skills, starting with telekinesis to control his swords from afar, just like the Demon Knight. The other option is the silence skill, which despite its obvious utility, Shin Sang-yoon realizes carries major risks. And he is right on the money. The system warns that activating silence will absolutely drain his mana pool. He finds that drawback way too punishing and initially considers rejecting it. His current abilities already burn through mana like crazy, so a massive debuff is the last thing he needs. Even so, he reminds himself that he is not playing it safe in this life. Ultimately, he locks in the silence skill, confident he can manage the high costs when the time comes. But right after, things take an incredibly bizarre turn. Brand new constellations drop in to check him out, specifically the legendary Mongol Conqueror and the Radiant Sun Monarch. The goddess of luck insists he is perfectly fine with just her, but she is completely blindsided when a third presence suddenly forces its way into the room. Even the other mighty beings are shocked to see this third figure arriving, as she is a highly hyped newcomer goddess among the ranks. Annoyed, the goddess of luck demands to know why this rookie is bothering her chosen mortal. The newcomer goddess casually replies that she has been keeping an eye on Shin Sang-yoon for a while, thoroughly impressed by his sheer bravery. She boldly declares she wants to stand right beside a warrior like him, suggesting he should dump those outdated, dusty constellations and bask in the glamorous power of a shiny new goddess like herself. Furious at the insult, the goddess of luck immediately gets in her face, demanding to know who she's calling outdated. Realizing a divine catfight is brewing because of him, our hero decides to kick them all out. But think about it, would you trust her? This new goddess claims she has classified info for Shin Sang-yoon, but only if he strikes a deal with her first. Dangling a massive carrot, she reveals the secret involves the mysterious late bloomer model student constellation. Instantly hooked, the protagonist steps closer and demands to know what she actually knows about his old patron. The goddess explains that the old patron is currently wandering the creepy dimension of bodies, driven there by an absolute obsession to study strange, bizarre life forms. But there is a catch. If Shin Sang-yoon wants the full story, he must completely abandon the goddess of luck and sign a contract with her instead. Shifting back to the present, our hero processes this shocker, realizing his old constellation companion was dimension hopping in his past life without him ever knowing. Unfortunately, he did not learn much else since he refused to make a pact with that new goddess. Instead, he chose loyalty, staying with the goddess of luck and asking her to investigate the matter. She is thrilled he stayed by her side, but deeply apologizes because her search turned up absolutely nothing. Frustrated, he recalls that the grim dimension of bodies is basically a trash heap where desperate, washed-up constellations go when they are completely ruined. He figures his old mentor is in serious trouble, but sadly, there is nothing he can do to help right now. Meanwhile, over at the Hyunjong Corporation headquarters, a busy secretary hands the president a fresh list of prime candidates in the open market. Right at the top of her list is none other than Shin Sang-hyun. The president, Han Hyun-jong, looks over his profile and finds this mysterious hunter incredibly intriguing. As days pass, the protagonist tries to focus on his daily life, but his thoughts constantly drift back to his missing patron. He cannot help but wonder what extra secrets he would have learned if he had just signed that risky deal with the new goddess. Ultimately, he knows sticking with the goddess of luck was the right call, since she is the one who saved him from death in that silent dungeon. After driving for a short while, he finally pulls up to his destination, the famous Hyunjong Market. This place is a massive hub for hunters, serving as the go-to spot to trade rare magic artifacts. The market guarantees complete safety for a premium fee, and rookies who do not know this often end up in serious trouble. Still, places like this are the absolute safest route for trading high-value items. While many global guilds operate their own open markets, the absolute largest one in Korea belongs to the massive Hyunjong Corporation. Aside from hosting the market, they are heavily backed by a top-tier guild, which easily ensures maximum security. However, there is a much bigger reason why this place is so legendary. It is run by the elite veteran adventurer Han Hyun-jong, who happens to be the only person on Earth capable of casting rank S buffs. Hunters from every corner of the globe flock here just to get her blessings, and with so many overpowered powerhouses gathered in one spot, safety is basically guaranteed without anyone ever needing to enforce it. Naturally, the sheer volume of clients desperate for her buffs keeps the entire venue in a state of absolute chaos. As soon as he arrives, an employee quickly approaches to greet him. She explains she will approve his entry once his credentials clear, but upon scanning his ID, her eyes widen as she realizes Shin Sang-hyun is on the high-priority VIP list, immediately escorting him to the special floor. This makes him realize that, completely by accident, he has already caught the personal attention of the big boss. Walking inside, he catches a group of nearby hunters, whispering about him. They are gossiping about rumors that Kim Mizo and Shin Sang-hyun are actually dating. They wonder how she could move on so fast after her previous boyfriend died in a tragic accident. He is pretty annoyed, but trying to play it cool. He shrugs and tells himself this market is surprisingly laid back, nodding at the crowd. Let us wait and see what happens next. The receptionist takes the hint, and security swiftly kicks those trash talkers out of the building. Shin Sang-hyun watches with a satisfied smirk, finally able to focus on what really matters. All right, you and I are going to join him as he rides the elevator up to the VIP floor. In his past life, he never imagined stepping into such luxury, let alone getting a personal invite. Reaching the penthouse suite, the sheer power radiating from the elite crowd makes its high status painfully obvious. He is greeted by a high-ranking guide named Song Ah-hyun, proving he is getting the ultimate red carpet treatment. She bows politely, offering to assist him with anything his heart desires. Moments later, he spots an ancient magic tome, but the eye-watering price tag makes him freeze. Ah-hyun explains it is the Book of the Abyss, holding incredibly rare and coveted dark secrets. As a dedicated swordsman, Sang-hyun politely declines the mage gear and asks to see warrior items instead. That is when he spots a massive crowd gathered around one highly sought-after display case. Ah-hyun offers to explain the item's history, but our protagonist waves her off, wanting to evaluate it himself. Stepping closer, his jaw drops. The artifact is radiating an intense, roaring flame. It is a legendary magic stone known as the Almighty. He instantly recognizes it as one of the 9 legendary artifacts scattered across the globe, packing absolute god-tier power. But his jaw drops even further when he sees the price 3 trillion won. To make matters crazier, it belongs to Jeron Decay, meaning this legend must have even more ridiculous gear hidden away. Sang-hyun entered this market feeling hyped, but now, he feels like a tiny minnow swimming among ancient, hungry sharks. He keeps browsing the VIP area, but the insane prices leave him completely speechless. Even the absolute cheapest gear here costs way more than his entire bank account. But keep your eyes peeled right here. Someone recognizes our main character. This guy introduces himself as Jang Jun-haeok, asking if he needs help finding something. Sang-hyun instantly recognizes the name. In the future, this guy becomes a famous powerhouse after unlocking an ability called Perfect Storm. Junhaeok explains he is actually looking to sell a high-tier artifact that does not suit his current build, hoping to pass it on. He presents the Ring of Life, a rare item that passively boosts the user's mana pool, asking if Sang Hyun wants to buy it. Realizing what is happening, our protagonist wonders if this guy is trying to bypass the market fees. C. This place has a unique loophole called the Direct Transaction Exemption System. Standard sales charge a 5% tax, but if 200 trade face-to-face, they get to keep every single coin. While the ring would definitely boost his stats, Sang Hyun knows a top-tier item like that costs a fortune, so he declines. Suddenly, a loud, chaotic argument erupts nearby. Guards are aggressively yelling at a young woman for eating pizza in the VIP hall, claiming she is ruining the store's high-class vibe. She fires back, arguing she paid for the food herself and can eat wherever she wants. The angry guards snap back, saying the food is not the issue, it is her lack of basic manners in a luxury establishment. She keeps complaining, saying hunger is just human nature. Stepping in, Sang Hyun politely apologizes for interrupting her lunch but mentions he is actually highly interested in buying the items she is offering. She happily tells him to go ahead and inspect them while she finishes her food, completely unbothered. Nodding, our protagonist picks up the mysterious gear to take a closer look. He realizes they are a matching pair of magic rings, one boosting raw speed, the other increasing potential. This is exactly what he needs to solve his stamina and mana issues. Plus, absolutely nobody else in this elite crowd seems remotely interested in these rings. He asks her for the price, and she quotes 1.5 billion won each, but offers a sweet bundle discount of 2 billion won. Seeing him hesitate, she quickly offers to lower the price even further. After a bit of friendly haggling, they settle on a final price of 1.3 billion won. You and I both know he used to be dirt poor, but now that things are different, he sees this as a massive investment that is bound to double his money. The girl beams, saying she will use some cash to buy delicious food and donate the rest to support her local orphanage. Surprised, he asks if she runs the place, and she nods, showing him a group photo. The moment he looks at the picture, a wave of deep familiarity hits him. That is the exact orphanage he grew up in during his past life after losing his family. He never expected to cross paths with anyone from his old home ever again. Sensing his shock, she asks why he suddenly looks so pale. Sang Hyun quickly claims he just recalled an old memory, smoothly shifting the conversation to ask how the orphanage is doing these days. She sadly explains it was completely destroyed in a tragic collapse, a fact he already knew but desperately needed to confirm. He realizes their paths as hunters are totally different since her drive is entirely selfless, not for personal greed. She shares that her late parents founded the home, and she is determined to rebuild it to honor their legacy. She warmly invites Sang Hyun to check out the project and maybe even join her cause, sliding him a cute business card. Seeing the hand-drawn card, he realizes how broke they truly are. He feels a deep emotional tug from his past but desperately tries to mask it, though she notices his slight hesitation and smiles warmly. Meanwhile, our protagonist arrives at the massive Eden Guild headquarters. An elite hunter named Jo Jin-ho steps forward to welcome him, saying they have been waiting. Sang Hyun is shocked to be personally greeted by a big shot like Jin-ho, realizing he needs to play his cards right. Just 1 hour earlier, though, he was still browsing the market. He had promised to contact the girl from the orphanage later, but right as they parted ways, his phone rang. Sighing, he stepped aside to answer a call from Kim Mi-so, who urgently revealed a massive new portal was opening. She explained it requires a two-man squad at level 130 minimum, as this dungeon is the infamous Black Gate. That name immediately triggers a memory. This legendary dungeon was originally cleared by Kang Bo-ae, the legendary sword arbiter. Since he and Miso make such a killer team, Sang Hyun realizes there is absolutely no reason to reject this epic raid. Plus, he faintly remembers the dungeon drop is an incredibly overpowered epic artifact, even if the specific details are still a bit blurry. Regardless, he accepts the offer instantly, confident the rewards will be insane. Fast forward to the present, he has completely put the market behind him as he heads inside the guild to meet Miso. Jin-ho asks if something is on his mind, but Sang Hyun quickly brushes it off as they walk. Jin-ho mentions that Miso is currently in an important briefing with the guild master but will join them shortly. In the meantime, he suggests hanging out in their elite training room, highlighting how rare of an opportunity it is for an outsider to access this high-tech facility. Stepping inside, Sang Hyun instantly feels the heavy, suffocating atmosphere shift. Jin-ho chuckles, admitting he gets goosebumps every single time too, and tells him to make himself comfortable. But as they enter, Sang Hyun notices the arena is already occupied and suggests they do not disturb them. Deep in the zone, Shin Tae-ri is training hard. She is going all out against a training golem as usual, but this time she has got company. We will have to wait and see why she is crashing their reserved room next time. All right, you and I are stepping right into the drama. She looks completely thrown off seeing Shin Sang-yoon here, asking what he's even doing in the building. Our main character explains that Kim Miso invited him for another raid, making Shin Tae-ri throw some heavy sarcasm about how close they've been getting lately. Not noticing Jo Jin-ho getting visibly nervous, she decides to head out, but not before telling Shin Sang-yoon she wants to train with him later. Once she leaves, Jin-ho smiles, thrilled they can finally get some real practice in. He straight up asks if Shin Sang-yoon wants to duel. Our main character wonders if literally everyone in the Eden Guild is going to challenge him, just like Terry did. Jo Jin-ho tells him to relax, claiming he just wants to see him in action. Apparently, ever since becoming a swordsman adventurer, testing others has become his absolute favorite hobby. Hearing this, the main character realizes Jin-ho communicates best through a good fight. Jin-ho even offers him any weapon he wants from the entire guild's arsenal. But Shin Sang-yoon already has his weapon ready, pulling a massive long sword straight from his dimensional subspace. Jo Jin-ho is stunned, having never seen that subspace trick before, which only gets him more hyped. He readies himself, and suddenly, his body swells up until he is 3 times his normal size. Meanwhile, over in the guild office, Kim Miso's dad is stressing over his daughter's safety. She claims she has everything under control, but he just cannot relax. Totally frustrated, Miso declares she is walking her own path and tells him to stop calling. Annoyed, Mr. Kim immediately phones guild leader Jang to ask for a favor. Back in the arena, Jo Jin-ho is practically drooling to see what Shin Sang-yoon can do. Activating his giant combat mode, he asks our main character if he is ready to rumble. Staring up at his massive opponent, Shin Sang-yoon realizes this is his very first time facing an Eden Guild giant mode swordsman. Now, pay attention here. While Doug Young-soo is the benchmark, not everyone can replicate his style. Instead, they focus entirely on raw power, constantly pushing their bodies to the absolute limit. Shin Sang-yoon used to train exactly like that, but he still wonders who actually reigns supreme in raw strength-based swordplay. There is no global agreement, but within Korea, Jo Jin-ho is top tier thanks to this form. Even as the swordsman meta shifted over time, he held his ground perfectly. Our main character feels a massive rush of excitement facing such a beast. Jin-ho smiles, loving the kid's confidence and daring him to prove himself in this clash. Just by lifting his giant blade, Jin-ho sends out waves of crushing wind. Our protagonist realizes there's only one option: meet force with raw force. Jin-ho is not holding back a single ounce of power, forcing Shin Sang-woo to be incredibly careful. One slip up against a monster like this, and it is game over. Jin-ho lunges with a massive burst of power, but the result shocks him. He did not hit his target, the strike was completely blocked. Jin-ho is genuinely stunned by the kid's sheer sharpness. Instead of trying some fancy, complicated strategy, our protagonist chose to meet that heavy blow head-on. You and I both know what happens next. It's his turn to strike. Taking advantage of Jin-ho's shock, our hero unleashes a devastating, earth-shaking counterattack. Taking the massive hit, Jin-ho is thrilled the kid is going all out. He initially wrote Shin Sang-woo off as a loudmouth show-off, but boy, was he wrong. Either way, there is absolutely no backing down now. Praising the attack, he admits any normal adventurer would have been blown to pieces by now. But since the kid is tough, he demands Shin Sang-woo stop holding back and show him his true hidden reserves. Jin-ho apologizes in advance, but explains he simply cannot hold back. To him, not fighting with absolute full power is the ultimate disrespect to an opponent. Our protagonist instantly recognizes this skill. It is the same legendary attack Jo Jin-ho used to save thousands during the second collapse, 20 years in the future. That same devastating barrage, like a storm of meteors summoned by high-tier monsters, is about to crash directly onto his head. Jin-ho admits this ultimate technique is still incomplete, but facing Shin Sang-hyo makes him want to unleash everything. Our hero, however, thinks this so-called incomplete move is already way too much to handle. Defending normally is suicide, even at maximum power. Shin Sang-hyo needs a smarter plan to strike the exact flank where the giant's force is weakest. It is an insane gamble, but his only option against a blow equal to 700 adventurers striking all at the exact same time. Crazy or not, he is seeing this through to the end. He has been defying fate ever since he regressed, and he is going to make the impossible happen once again. A short distance away, Kim Miso walks with a heavy heart, upset about the fight with her dad. She tries to shake it off, excited to meet up with Shin Sang-hyo. Suddenly, a massive tremor shakes the entire facility. While others panic thinking it is an earthquake, Miso knows it came straight from the training hall. Terrified, she rushes over, absolutely certain Shin Sang-hyo is at the center of this chaos. But arriving there, she can barely see through the thick, heavy smoke. As she wonders what went down, Jinho coughs, amazed that the kid actually chose to take that devastating attack completely head-on. Our protagonist thanks him but admits he took some serious damage. Jinho tells him to relax since the guild has top-tier doctors, though secretly, Jinho is hurting pretty badly himself. What actually bothers him is how a complete rookie is already clashing on equal footing with a seasoned ranker like him. During that clash, the kid's blade showed absolutely zero hesitation or rookie mistakes. Jinho acknowledges his insane strength, even if there is still a long path ahead. He thanks Shin Sang-yoon for the duel, admitting it gave him a lot to process. Plus, after today, nobody in the Eden Guild will ever doubt his skills again. Our hero asks if this was an entrance exam. Jinho agrees, saying he has huge potential. Stick with me for his hilarious reaction. Right then, Kim Miso storms in, yelling that she asked him to welcome the kid, not kill him. She asks if he has lost his mind,